Hey, hey. Come on in. All right. Let's.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm signing myself into the other computer. Give me 1 second. Both my computers have different passwords, and I tend to go ahead and mix them up, and then it doesn't open. Okay. Keeping everyone in. And here we go. All right. Oh, and I'm up on this one now. It used to be easier to connect, but they've done this weird thing with Zoom now that when I connect from two sides, I have to sign in differently from each side, and it takes longer than it used to. Um, Here we go. And here I am. All right. Co-host. And I'm on without audio. All right. Okay. Hi there. All right, let's see who's here. Hi, Jay and Rachel and Stan and Vera, Peggy, everyone's here. Julie. And not everyone, but a lot of you guys are here. Wonderful. Head over to the chat, please, and give me a little hey ho. And Gia, if your cat needs to sign in, he can do so too. He or she. There we go. So give me a little sign in the chat. And I will now move this up so I can see you guys. All right. Welcome, welcome. Uh, quite the good amount of work you guys have been putting up there. Well, not you guys, a few of you. Well, many of you aren't putting anything up yet, but give it a try. It's really good when I can see your work. Let me share the Padlet and let me give you guys the link so you can get in there as well. Okay. So yeah, so as of this morning, I had seen these two. I hadn't seen the ones you just uploaded, Vera. So that's good. So you have a question here, so that's good. You're saying that you're having struggles locking down the background and then the image. So we're going to talk about that. But one of the things I see here is that all your bits and pieces of the chick are not in a group. So it makes it much harder to have everything locked down when you have so many things that are not in a group. So right now, what I would do is scroll up into the very bottom when you first made that blue background. And then you click just between the eyeball and this blue line, you click right there and you give it a lock. And that'll lock the background, right? And
At the
then
very bottom.
what's that?
You said at the very bottom.
Well, I don't see it here, so I'm assuming that it's at the bottom, wherever you see the black, the the blue background. I'm sorry. In fact, if you select it yourself, you'll see a little blue dot of whatever that one is, and then you click right in between the eyeball and this blue line right there, and you'll lock that background, right? And then when you work with all the chick parts, you won't be picking up the background all the time. Okay. Let me know if that worked. And the other thing you need to do is select all of the chick parts and pieces and just group them. And then you'll have basically background, chick, and clouds, which you can also group. And then that'll be much more simpler layers to handle. Does that make sense? Do you want to share your screen so that I can show you what I'm talking about?
Sure. Let me go back to Zoom.
Okay, let me finish seeing this one since this one's also yours. Um, okay, same kind of thing. You had an issue with grouping them because you kept selecting the whole fish. Okay, so go ahead and share your screen. I'll give you a hand with that because that is a very valid thing. I only really showed you groups one time. Let me open this up. Okay, so go ahead and scroll all the way to the bottom of your layers, in the layers. Right here where it's in the, yeah, there. Scroll down, down, down. And at some point we should see there. I see some blue stuff is at the bottom. Now you have quite a few. I see that you have them in many of your artboards. So go ahead and click on the one that seems selected because I see little white dots around them seems to be the right one. So now go go between the eyeball and the blue line to the left and click on it. Good, you locked it, right? So now when you try to select the chick, you won't be selecting that anymore. Now, I don't know about this wavy line where you have it. So you can click on the wavy line now. Click on the wavy line. And then on the left, on the layers, there it is. Somewhere kind of, you see a little blue dot. Yeah,
Right.
that's the one. So go ahead and lock that,
Okay.
right? And so on and so forth. And then, in fact, if you select the three clouds, you can lock them. And then the only thing you'll have left is the chick, right? But even now that you've locked the background and the wavy line, the dirt, you can now go and make a little, cast a net across all of your chick. Go to the top and just select all of your chick parts. Yeah, click and drag. Good. And now say Command G. Are you on a Mac? Yeah, Command G, which you grouped them. And there you go. So now go up, or did you Command G or did you
I
group?
did. He's right here. So
Okay, so now turn the eyeball on and off to make sure. Yep, you missed some parts. So go ahead and undo and cast a bit of
take
a wider net.
you mean take the lock off?
Yeah, turn no, turn the eyeball off again. And it looks like you missed one of the little claws and then a little strip there that might have been on top of the beak, but right now it's in the bottom. So it's not, you're not really seeing it. So yeah, what I would say is to undo twice, basically like Command G to undo the lock, Command G to undo the group, or just unlock, but you need to undo the group. Or you can undo the group by clicking there. Your properties panel is closed, which should always be open. So go
So
over to
to
your,
ungroup.
it's ungrouped. Okay, and now go and now it's grouped still.
Okay.
So,
How do I ungroup without going to the
well, one thing, you should have the properties panel open all the time. It is really important. So go and open the properties panel, right? And you have it set so that it only turns on and off. Okay, that's not very good. Okay, so see, it's over your layers. This is not a very good layout to be able to have your properties panel because now I'm going to tell you to choose the chick again, but the layers are in the way, so they're kind of like interrupting each other. Do you mind if I if I request remote control and
please,
I
please
kind of
do.
help you a little bit with that? Because this is truly important. First of all, if you just go over here to the workspaces and you just reset your essentials, that alone puts it in a much more logical spot. And then the layers, you just bring them over here. Okay, so now you have your properties over here and your layers over there. It's harder for me to grab stuff when I'm on remote. There we go. So now you could see all the time both. So if I select the chick now, right? Then one of the options is to ungroup. You could also do the Control Shift ungroup if you go all the way to the top and go to edit, no, to object, then you could choose ungroup from there. But it's Shift Command. So like Command G is group, Shift Command G is ungroup, right? So you can do it from there, or you can do it from here. So now that I've ungrouped, right? See how it says group again because I clicked on group. Then you select the whole thing again, and I'm going to go cast a bit wider to see if it catches all those little bits. I'm going to group again. So you click on this thing and you group again. So by having both panels handy, you can do much more at the same time. So now let me see where that chick ended up. Here. So this is the whole chick. Yep, there it is. Right there.
So now you can
Okay.
lock him.
If you want to, if he's ready and you don't want to use him anymore, yeah, you can lock him. But now you have that locked, that locked, that locked. So the only thing free right now should be your clouds. And yep, there they are. Right? But you have a lot of other stuff, which is probably stuff that you have on other, yeah, on your other artboards. But it would, now that you have like parts over here of this one, you can maybe put them together. So, so like if you select these are the two things you locked here. And then here you have your background. Maybe you can put this one down there and this one down here. So now you have your background, your wavy line, and your chick. And then let's go get, where was your wavy line? No, your clouds. Select your clouds, which are these, and we bring them down here. So now if I turn these three eyeballs off, it's like background, wavy line, chick, and clouds. Like you have them together. And then you kind of do that for the rest of what you have, and it becomes much easier to handle yourself. Do you want to give that a try? And then let me know if that doesn't work, you can share again.
Sure, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh,
Let me stop your share. There we go. All right. So yeah, guys, learning how to handle, whoops, my pen for the mouse.
it's organization.
It's just that when you have so many layers, the only solution is to click on the object, and sometimes clicking on the object, look at that chick. The line you had, I guess, drawn on the beak was underneath, meaning you would have never been able to select that line. Now it's there. You might want to go into the chick pieces and find that line and drag it up so that you see it. You know what I mean? But right now, that you wouldn't have been able to grab, it would have been loose had you not selected that whole area. You couldn't have selected that whole area if you hadn't locked the background, because the background would have come into that selection. Does that make sense, you guys? So you first start by locking the bottom stuff so that then you can select the chick. If not, when she did a drag over the chick, the background would have been included and probably the wavy line would have been touched and included. So then the whole thing would have been included, which isn't a bad idea, to say the truth, is to select then right now all four of those groups and make one group again. So you have one group called, you know, the chick number one. The other one is the fish. The other one is whatever else you had drawn there. So I kind of stopped the sharing there. But do you understand what I mean? Now you have them locked. Since you have them locked, you won't be able to group them. So if you go to those four and unlock them, and then you select those four, group them one more time and call that one chick. But it isn't just the chick or chick art or whatever, right? And then that whole thing is inside of that, you'll have each of the little groups. Does that make sense, or do you want to share again for this last little bit that I just said?
It makes sense. And so that goes along with the fish I posted. I drew the fish and then I couldn't get these lines to duplicate, so I just hand drew them. Then when I wanted to select them to group them, the whole fish was moving around where the whole fish would get selected. So it
Okay.
has to do with slowing down and organizing as I go along.
Well, yeah, go ahead and share your screen again. Guys, this is important. I'm really making a point of working on this. Sometimes I'll go, oh, that's great. And other times I'll really point, but it's for everyone. Look at your own projects and look at what's been happening with your organization, because it really does make a big difference in how easy or how hellish it might be to start to try to make something happen when just things are all over the place. So in this case, yeah, so go ahead and go to the very bottom where we put, wait a minute, go to the chicks first. Go to the very bottom where we put all the chick parts. Scroll all the way down where we put all the chick parts. Okay. So down there we had the cloud. Those four things are the chick parts, right? Unlock them for a second. Click on the locks on all of them because you can't group things if they're locked. Okay. Now, what you can do is you can go over to the little ball on the right side, the button that makes it select it. Yeah, select the bottom one. Yeah, hold down your shift key and then click on each one of those four. Yeah, or go to the top one. Yeah, and that's your chick number one. So now group them. You can either go to the group button that appears here on the properties panel, or you can do Command G. Good. So now that one down at the bottom, double click on it and call it, so you can lock it if you want. It's your one chick. And now go and you can double click on it. And you're not seeing the names very well. So you might want to expand your layers to the left a little bit so that you can see those names. There you go. So now that's the chick, right? By the
Mhm.
time you're done, you can have only four things in your layers and each one is individual. So now go select this fish background that's on the left and we'll start to do the same. So when now you found it, there it is. It's the one with the blue. So now you know which one it is. Go ahead and lock it. Good. Now go ahead and since you don't have any other clouds or anything, drag a big net all across these fish parts. So go from the top to the left and
The whole fish.
yeah, select the whole fish. Yep. And all the little parts and pieces. Yep. Okay, and now group that. And you'll see how things will become much easier. Good. Look at how few
Oh,
layers you have left. Now call that one fish at the very top. Mhm. And now the bottom, now you see the blue rectangle that was the fish is that, grab that fish and drag it all the way on the layers. No, no. Grab the fish and drag it down until you see that the first blue, that was the blue of your fish. Drag it down. Yeah, there. Whoop, one up, or you'll hide the fish. So drag it again and right there. Let it up. One up. Nope. One above that. That's the one. Yeah. Now select those two, the fish and that background. Now shift click on that little button on the right like we did before. Oh, you need to unlock the background now. And now go click on both at the same time. Go to the right side to where you have the little blue button, shift and then click on the other one. Good. And now group that. And now
okay.
call that one fish layer, fish art or something like that. It's the fish and the background, right? Now, if you do the same for the rest, you'll be able to have probably just two more drawings. Now, here's what I wanted to say to that though. If you now want to get into the fish, right? If you open again, if you unpack that fish by opening that little arrow, and then you unpack the fish by ungroup the fish, not ungroup, but you open that to see all the fish parts. You still have a humongous amounts of pieces, right? So my recommendation in the future is when you finish all the little fin lines to group them immediately on one fin, not even all the fin lines, but go in and group all, like do a little select of just those fin lines, right? Now it's going to be hard to do because since you have the whole fish selected right now, right? It's much easier to do this as you go because now you're going to have to kind of inside track it. Let me go ahead and request remote control again to show you what I mean. Okay, so now don't touch the screen for a second. And here we go. So now if I try to get only this one, right? I'm getting the whole fish, right? So I have to go into this isolation mode where I'm going to double click. And now I've got only the fish. I'll double click again, right? So now I've got only the fish. See how the background went away? But if I tried to still select just this fin, I can't because it'll also grab that, it'll grab that, it'll grab everything. So what I recommend right now is trying to grab this background, right? That on its own. Then, well, maybe I can do this. I can just, so this is how I did it. I'm going to grab from here to here. See how I'm not grabbing the belly of the fish? Just from here to here. So that selects all these fins and its fin itself. And now I'm going to group it again. Okay, so now over here I have top fin, right? Or top fin. Yeah. Then I'm going to grab this bit here. And then I look over there, I group it, and I call this one bottom fin, right? And you slowly begin to organize. And then I'm going to call this one. No, I can't because this is the whole body. So this one's a little bit harder because if you grab this, I'm grabbing the fin plus the whole body of it, plus these fins. But it's possible to just say, I'm gonna grab everything now. So from here through here, that grabs all the lines, all the little fins, all the body, all the smiles. And now I'm going to group that, and that's going to be the body of the fish, right? Now, phew, your fish is now all collected, except for the fact that, so what's this one? I can't tell what, I don't see this. Oh, like you have a little dot down there.
Oh, nothing, a mistake.
Okay, so good. So then, but see, that wouldn't have been found before. And now you can delete that little mistake. Okay, so now you have the bottom fin, top fin, and the whole body. So now when you open the body, though, you still have a lot of different things, but now it might be easier to distinguish. All these orange ones are probably the fins, right? So now
The
you can go
scales.
over here, the scales, and do like that. Shift, click, shift. Grab all those. Maybe we're going to move this one out of the way first. There we go. So now you can do click, shift, click, and then you can group that.
What does it mean to offset path?
Yeah, I'm not even going to go there. It's got to do with make your paths inside internally smaller. We don't need that for now. So this is the scales. I'm going to undo this, by the way. Don't get too excited because I'm going to let you do this, right? But now you're left with much of an easier because you've selected that. Now it's easier to, if I want to select these little parts of the fish, right?
Mhm.
What I need to do is go find where you have the body, which seems to be this one, right? Guys, look what I'm going to do. I want to select these, but the body's going to come with it. So I find the body, which is this is really literally the body. I turn it on and off to make sure. Yep, it is. Then I lock it. Once it's locked, I can do this, and that would only select those fins. Does that make, unless she has something else weird going on there, because this time, because the body, which is that, has been locked. I should be able to drag across this. Oh, because it's also this smile. These are all part of the same. See how they all turned on? Okay, so then you can go to the, hold on to your shift and undo. If I want to now select, click on that. And so for now, you're going to have to figure out, you'll have to see, now you're left with very few. So now you look at these and it's easier to tell, like this is the eye. These three are the eyeball, right? So you group that. And you test it. Yep, you got the whole eyeball. So eyeball or eye, whatever. And then this is the curved one. That's the smile. So you just call this one smile or mouth. And then that leaves basically all the rest from here, shift to here. And that I group it. And those are the tail fin, tail lines, whatever. Right? So there you go. Now you have the whole fish can be handled individually, right? So now if you only want to work on the tail lines, let me turn on the body of the fish again. Now you can grab them and move them around because they're all together, right? Now you can grab the scales. And since you need to be careful, you're in isolation mode, you need to double click one more time. And then the scales can be, oh, looks like I don't have all the scales in one, do I?
You probably don't because in my duplicating them, I didn't do it in the sequential order I should have.
So where do you have these? Let me escape. Some of those that I'm moving are, they still are showing up in the body of the fish. So if I select this, it's turning them all on and off. Okay, so I have a little group here, right there. See, that's loose, and that belongs in the scales. I'm going to put it in the scales. There we go. So now that scales I can grab. So I put the little group you had made, and now I can move all the scales. Okay. So I didn't do this art. I didn't myself create it. And yet just by having the logic of locking what's underneath, selecting lock, I was able to kind of organize the whole thing. Does that make sense? Of course, if it's for abstract, it would be much harder. But since it's pieces that are readily recognizable, now we have this one thing called the fish, right? And in this case, the whole fish layer. If I click on that, it's the whole thing, right? And so that I've locked the entire fish and I can't move anything from here now, right? So then this becomes the fish. So here I had the chick, here I have the fish. And now these parts, one of these two is probably the other four that you have, right? So you have one of these is on its own, and then this one, so we can tell that this one through this one is whatever that is that you're beginning to make, right? So when you select from here to here, you can call it whatever that is. I don't know, make a group, and that's that one. Okay, and that one. Now, at some point you might think, well, it's easier to have made an artboard on each. Yes and no, because ultimately inside of that artboard, you still have to do this, right? So now there's the chick and all the parts. So here's the important thing. I'm going to unlock them. If I now want to, this is for everyone, guys. Now I'm unlocked. Come on. Unlock. Remote control doesn't work as well as, okay. So now if I grab any of these that I've worked on, the whole thing is one thing. So you're like, okay, well, thank you for doing that. But how do I know? Oh, look, we left one little fin out. So that's kind of cool because see, there it is. I can find it. And I'm going to open that fin and the fish and the tail fin. And I can grab that little guy and drop it right in there. And I put it right where it belongs, right? Except for now it'll move. Was that?
You need to regroup it.
I thought it was that one, but it's not. So I'm going to double click all my way in to what is that. It's in the top fin. We have this little one is mixed with the top fin one. So I'm going to double click it, select it again. This I'm going to cut. I'm going to get rid of. So I'm going to do Command K to move it out from there. Then I'm going to hit Escape. And I'm going to go back into the body of the fish, the tail fin, tail lines. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to double click into the tail lines. And now I can do yeah, I'm in the tail lines. Cool. So now I'm going to do a command. I'm going to go up here and do a edit object. I'm going to just paste it. And now bring it back in. And I guess it was one of those lines that maybe you didn't even want there because now it seems extra, but you might have not known. Yeah, it looks like it's an extra one that you had loose. It wasn't an extra one. So now I can just delete it and we're fine. So what we can do now is hit escape, and this one little guy that we just tried to save was actually extra. So I'm going to delete that one little guy. Good. So now you can move the whole fish around, but this is the key part, guys. If I now need to work on the scales again, the whole thing is moving, right? So what do I need to do to get into the scales or the eyeball or whatever? If I want to get into any part of
Like
this,
you
what I need,
select it.
select it.
Open your group, then select
Yeah,
just
so there's two solutions. Either if I did organize this well, I can open my group and then I can go into, for example, the body of the fish here. I can move the scales out. So this is the scale. So I can have like fin scales, right? Eyeball and smile. If I want to, I can even do that. And then I really have all the parts separate. So I can go in and select just the scales and work in that. Or, and this is what I'm going to tell you is much easier, and it works now that they're grouped though, is double click, double click, double click. and
Isolation
you're
mode.
in scales, right? In isolation mode. And since you had a couple of these grouped, and it's a bit confusing because they were a bit willy-nilly, I'm gonna just put them all together. So I'm not gonna have them, I'm gonna take this group out of the way because you had a little subgroup there. I'm gonna take it out. Um, take these little scales out from that subgroup. Okay, so now all your scales are one group. And then, yeah, that's how you do it. And then you start working in here and you can select all the scales and make them, whatever, a different color, right? But then it'll work to just these scales. I'm going to undo that, right? And in fact, I told you I was going to do all of this work, but I'm feeling like I just want, maybe what I'll undo is the one that was a bit easier, the chick. I'll leave you the fish as a sample. I'm going to go to your good old chick.
I will watch your video in slow motion this time.
Okay. I'll go to the chick and I'll ungroup it. And then I'll go to all the individual parts and I'm going to ungroup them to let you do the same thing that we just did uh, to each one of these. Okay, so I'm going to select this one and I'm going to do Command Shift G, which is ungroup, and I'm going to select this group and Command Shift G is ungroup. I'm going to get this one and ungroup, which in a way they ungroup into their positions, so it's still a bit easier, but now I've ungrouped your chick, right? So you have a perfectly nicely handled fish there. And then I've ungrouped your other stuff. So it's up to you to do all the rest. Okay.
Okay, please go
To,
on with the
to
class.
redo that shit. Yeah, yeah, no. But what
Embarrassing.
this what I did right here. It was the class, guys. You know that, right? Because it's not, that wasn't helping Vera. It was really clarifying for everyone how important the groups are and that doing them after is possible, but harder versus when you're making the fin and putting the lines in, select the lines and call them immediately a group and say lines for the top fin. Then make the ones from the bottom, lines for the bottom fin. So then you don't have to guess at what's guess and lock to find. You're making them and you're grouping them. You make 4 petals, you group them. You make 6 petals, you group them, right? And then you have the 4 petals that are blue and the 6 petals that are green. And then they're on top of each other and that makes the flower. And then you group that in to call it a flower. Then you make the stem and the leaf and you call that stem and leaf and you group them with a flower. Next thing you know, you can move a flower around, but as you were making it, you've created the internal groups. And if you forgot, you do what I just did. You go, oh, there's these loose little bits and pieces here and there, especially when Vera said she went later. She made 5 scales, then she went to do something else, and then she went and made set 5 more scales. So then some scales are at the top, some scales are at the bottom, right? So then all you need to do is select them separately like this and then group them and they're all going to join into one place and then you can handle all of them. Did that make sense, you guys? Give me a yes if it all worked out in your brain and if you need more explanation because you didn't do it. But if you're gonna need any more explanation from that, or can you show me how it works on mine or something like that? I'm happy to do that. All right. Um, uh, Julie Mercer down there. I haven't seen you.
Uh,
Are you there? Oh,
so
you're there. Okay,
Diane,
good.
Diane,
Yeah,
I explained I missed last week, and so I'm behind, and I want to catch up before I try to participate today. But
that's
I'm
okay.
watching.
But you're there. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. But you're welcome to ask questions and stuff so that as you do it next week, you can still if something of my explanation doesn't make sense, it could be because I already explained it and doesn't make sense. But if it's something new, basically what I go from here on today, then definitely ask. Okay. All right. So let me share again because there's some other awesome artwork that was in the. So right now what I have is Gia and Stan's and Vera's that appeared this morning. And so I'm going to start backwards to Stan's. And what Stan did is he took a photograph of a cabinet and he reproduced it with the tools that we know how to use right now. I'm saying that only in the when I comment that there is a way to take this photo and actually have Illustrator create an illustration of it, which I will teach you how to do it if you want to do that. But then it would have tried to be much more realistic versus this is recreated in a way that you would later when we do this other tool that I'm going to show you, Stan, where you scan it in, then you'll see the difference, right? And neither one is better than the other. It depends on what you're looking for, right? This is a really good reproduction, visual reproduction of all the shapes and pieces. The only thing I see missing are the little black hinges or whatever those things are. But other than that, that was really faithful. And you created this little shape really well too. Can you tell me how I created that little shape? That's not easy to create. How did you make the little
I did
hanging?
that in Shape Builder with two ovals and then the circles, and that's a real traditional hand pull. It kind of
Yeah,
hinges on those
I
round.
know. I have them right behind me. I love that in my house.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can
Oh,
tell. Oh, no, you
that
can't
was
tell behind
cool.
me. You don't see it. But yeah, I love those. But
Yeah.
see, this wouldn't have been possible before last class, right? He made one oval. Then he made a second oval that was smaller and a little bit offset, right? Not like it's thinner here and it's thicker there. Someone asked me what offset is. That would be an offset, so to say, although he did it manually. He put another little thing in it. And then with the shape builder, you just get rid of the middle one and boom, you're left with just this little bit, right? So that would have been so hard to draw because it has to be completely precise and symmetrical. You can't like hand draw this. If you're doing this kind of art, if you're doing a freehand kind of hand art, you could just like do a freehand of it and it would look freehand. It would look fine, but it's not this style. Does that make sense? So within this style, that was the perfect solution. And then two little circles and boom, there you go. Repeat it a bunch of times. And then this little guy is what you got in there. These are probably testing. I don't know. They're not part of that, but that's good. And then if I look at the layers, he's got one group for the handles, one for the siding, one for the frame, one for the drawers, and then the reference. So this is very well organized. These are groups. It's all inside of layer one. These are little groups for all the parts and pieces, right? So oh, there you had explained. And then you did the pulls with the distort and bloat effect. Oh, I didn't know that. So what can you explain to us where you use the distort and bloat? How did it
Yeah,
start from
just
here?
the pentagon and the one beneath it. I was just playing around with that
Mhm.
what's it called? Bloat and
Yeah.
pucker
Okay.
to soften the edges, and yeah.
Yeah, that's true because this isn't a straight lined pentagon. You see how it's a little bit more curvy. And yeah, you're right. The little boom bloat could have done that to that. Perfect. All right. Thanks for trying out new stuff. You've totally used everything that we learned last class to make this, and it looks great. And then Jie, who made this astounding piece of artwork, which for some reason, why is it not showing? Hello? Hello? Try that one again because I did it just fine. Oh, it's a PDF. Okay. What you did instead of putting the screenshot, you put the file. So it takes a little bit longer to show up. Um, anyway, but that's fine. It does. If it were something else, it wouldn't, but I can't zoom into it. Anyway, and so she used the different tools, the compound tools we learned last week, and then effects. And then the effects, probably you did the drop shadow in there, right? Did I run you through those effects? I don't know.
Yes, it's a job
It's a
shadow
drop. Yeah. So I
to
don't
make
think
it
I've,
look like 3D
yeah,
and
that's great.
layers kind of.
And then how did you make the snow, little snow bits? Are they just little circles that you popped around?
I tried two methods. One is to use like create kind of 8 to 10 dots, make it different size, and use what's that? I think on my Mac is option to is an
Mm-hmm.
option and copy paste. And
Yeah.
another
Hmm.
method is to create a new brush. Oh, sorry, yeah, because
I saw that.
yeah, a brush and like just
This
painting it all over.
spot around. And it looks like you like the brush tool better.
Yeah, but
Uh,
I still kind of ungroup them because I don't want them looks very regular. I just move
mm-hmm.
them randomly around to make it more like
Mm-hmm.
snowflakes. Yeah.
Yeah, when I used to work as an art director. I used to work for a design studio where they reproduced an artist's work, and she would sparkle little stars in her background. And when you had to recreate that, it's one of the hardest things is to make a good random sparkle, or in this case,
Yeah.
a good random snow, because when you try to put it somewhere, it looks like it's lined up to something else. So it's actually quite, it takes quite a bit to
Yeah.
create a good randomness of shape, which you certainly did a good job, because between smaller, bigger, and smaller, little more distance, less distance, more, I mean, it's a very well done randomness, but it takes a lot to get that random, I'm telling you.
Yeah, and I tried to like make some with a feather, the
Hmm.
picture
Yeah.
for some dots and
Hmm.
some stroke around like outside of the dot.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
just kind of randomly, so make it looks more natural, more
Yeah.
real.
I see a little bit of a stroke around those, and others don't seem to have a stroke. And then yeah, that one looks, these two look a little bit more feathered. It's hard to tell because I'm looking at it from afar. But yeah, that also helps. I mean, snow is different after all. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
good job.
I have two questions. One is about now look at this artboard. I definitely had something outside artboard.
Yeah.
I I know it's fine if I export the picture, the outside will not be appear in the picture, but
Yeah.
I want to learn how to remove the outside.
Actually, yeah, once you're totally sure, it's good to have these pieces, right? Because if right now you decide you want to make this hill move over to the right, you still have the whole shape, right? So you don't want to get rid of the outside stuff until this is set in stone. So for the most part, I would say don't bother. But if you do want to do it, then the shape build that we used the other day, you select all these shapes and you make a rectangle on top of it, and then you delete. That
Oh,
makes sense. And then you select all those shapes, you make a rectangle, and then you get rid of that, and boom, and it'll cut all the shapes up to there. And then you select these, you make a rectangle like that with a shape builder, say minus, and then you go. You've cleaned it up. Thing is, if you then decide to move this hill a little bit more, you don't have enough hill to fit in the, you know what I mean? So you just
yeah.
need to be just go
I
with that.
tried, yes, I tried one time, but I'm not sure if it's the true method to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would do. It's the easiest way because you can't change the shape of this to make it straight and
Yeah,
straight.
yes,
It would take quite a lot. Today, we're going to learn more about the tools, the pen tools, and the curvature tools. And you could create this exactly as it is with a straight angle and that. We haven't done that yet. You could, but it's hard to create it that way when you're still playing around, when you're moving this hill there and there and there. It's easier to create the randomness,
yeah,
figure out the right placement, and then get rid of it, right? Then to you make this like that, and then you're stuck. You can't move it around. Does that make sense, you guys?
yeah,
So
yeah,
this is actually better, and then you just get rid of it with a shape builder tool. Two-way. The only negative I would see here, and just again, since you got so far, I'm gonna give you one thing to think about. Trees do their best to always go straight. So it's rare on a hillside you wouldn't see trees going sideways like that, unless they're the kind that the wind is blowing over. So I would think that this would be better off if you put the three trees straight and small back there, right?
yeah,
Than to have them falling over. Same with those. Like if you straighten these trees and these trees, I mean, it might be fake, but these are fake trees anyway, but it won't look like these are sliding off the hill because that's not realistic. If they're on the hill, they'd still be straight. Okay. In this kind of art, in real art, you'll find a tree that's bending over, but the bottom of the limb would still be trying to go straight, but then the top would bend over. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
anyway, it's minor details, completely minor details, but just thinking that would throw that out. But wonderful,
Thank you.
really nice work. And if anyone else has anything else you want, oh, there you guys are writing. So beautiful. Perfect. Thank you for doing that. And guys, I'm just as happy with that as I am with someone who completes this or this or this or that, right? So you're using the tools really well. It doesn't need to look particularly, what was it? Whatever, I'm looking for the doesn't need to look
Precision.
realistic or any of those things. It needs to show me that you're doing the things that I've been teaching you, and that does show it. I noticed the other day, Sambat, I think you weren't here when you posted this, we didn't talk about it because I don't remember opening it. But I just wanted to point out that this truly looks, it really looks like you took it out of some like clip art. That's how amazing your how realistic to how things are out there in the world of clip art. And yet I see that you created all the parts and pieces. So what I wanted to ask you, because the shapes over here are like, you can see that it's drawn and then there's another line. Was this with the pencil tool with a like what tool did you use to make these feathers, for example? They look very hand drawn. See some bet?
How's my microphone, by the way? If not working, I'll use the chat box.
Okay. Oh, so let me look at the chat. Oh, you see some bet. You forgot to merge the shapes. I used the shape builder. Oh, to do this? Use the shape builder?
Yeah, so like the tails, it could be like easily 6 pieces, but it's like probably 20 pieces, you know?
I'm not sure I was able to understand everything you said, but okay. Let me just say the only thing is today we're going to talk more about how to create these shapes. I have one more tool. I haven't shown you about the drawing tools, and we're also going to work on the pen and the curvature tool. So we're going to do a few more. But if you want to write what you just said that I couldn't hear you well, that would be great. So, but the only thing is look at the leg, not, it's not a concern, but just notice that the legs have less opacity than the rest of the body. So you're seeing through to the K for Thanksgiving. So you might want to consider to have more or less opacity. I'm not sure that it makes sense right here to have that transparency, but maybe it's a choice. So let me know. But anyway, guys, let me show you more tools where you can freehand stuff a bit more like this. If you want to create things that are more freehand. And then over here, this was, I believe, Odessa, are you here? No, it's probably why I didn't talk last time. Odessa isn't here yet. Anyway, so this was a combination. She used water brush strokes, but then she used AI to make from those shapes a snowman. So I wanted to talk to her about how I haven't talked to you about the Generate AI. We're doing it. She's in my Photoshop class, and in Photoshop, we're using the Generate tool, the artificial intelligence Generate tool. So I wanted to ask her what steps she had done over here. But when she gets back, I'll ask her. Same with this. I'll wait until she comes here to ask her about those two. All right. Oh, and then Moni here, who had done a great job of using the builder, shape builder to create a shape and then get rid of the parts and pieces, right? To make it. And I remember you were showing me a piece of a lemon slice that you had created, Moni. So on top of that, I think this is a reuse, a clever reuse of a piece that she had made a lemon slice and something else, and we were talking about how to duplicate it. And then I recognized that lemon slice portion here, and that's great, right? You use something that you already took some time to figure out and then use it for something else. So well done. Okay, good job, you guys, at making a lot of stuff. Moni here, who I think last week I had shown these things, but I don't remember showing them. So I think maybe you posted them while I was in class or something, because I saw them, but I remember talking about them. So anyway, let's move on to Illustrator. And thank you guys. Keep posting your work. And unless there's a question about work that's homework, I don't usually talk about it too much because it's work we did in class. But if you had a question about something that did or didn't work and you've asked me, then I would stop and try to answer. And if there's a question that you asked me that I didn't notice to answer, please let me know. All right. Illustrator, yay. Let's go to Illustrator. So now, if Odessa was here, this is probably what she talked about doing, but right now I'm not gonna go there. I'm gonna say new file. And we're going to use the same old 5x5x4. Let's say create.
On the counter.
Oh, Vera, I'm gonna mute you for a second. Okay. Oh, Susan, but I see you answer, sorry. The tail could have been 6 pieces, but it's about 20 pieces. Okay, because instead of making one piece and then repeating it 6 times, you kind of had pieces attached. Okay. Should I bring the letters up front? It was blocking the legs. Oh, when I said about the transparency, I mean, it's not bad the way it is. I just don't think it helps you read it more to have it transparent. I think that if the legs were opaque, you would still read the Happy Thanksgiving because our brain just knows that that's what you're trying to say. If it was a sentence that was like completely unexpected, a joke you're making, we might need to really read the word. But when you see a turkey, you see happy, and then you say Thanksgiving, you just know it says Happy Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, yeah, it can hide just fine. Have you ever noticed magazines that are well known? Sometimes you can see that the masthead is the name of the magazine, and sometimes you see the whole word of the magazine, and other times there's a picture in the middle of it, and you don't question that you can't read the word of it. You just know that behind it says National Geographic or Time or People or whatever. It's just covers most of it, but you just know it says People because you've seen it so much time, right? Same thing with this Happy Thanksgiving. It's not something that you'll miss not seeing the little bits that the legs go through. So yeah. Anyway, okay, guys, I'm gonna move this over a little bit because I'm kind of stretching over my body. Okay. So a couple more things about creating pieces, a little bit more about that. When we went through all the different tools that were under the tool brush, we had the paintbrush and the pencil tool, and then we have the blob brush tool, and I haven't talked about that one yet. So first, let me go ahead and once again, I'm going to grab the paintbrush tool, and I'm going to I'm going to my bracket keys, and I'm making it a bit bigger. And it's a paintbrush, right? So what's going to happen is the only color that matters is a stroke. Let's change this to a stroke. It's going to be a fat-ish stroke, maybe 5 points, 4 points, and then I'm going to make, oh, wait, I made that way too big. Make it smaller. Okay. Yeah, not so big. And then I do that. Okay. So once again, I'm going to just do that. And this is just preparing you for the conversation about the blob brush, right? So I made a circle. I'm going to make a circle and a strip. Okay, that's the paintbrush. Then I'm going to go down to the pencil, and I'm going to just change the color only, but I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to do a little thing like that and a thing like that. Okay. Now, when I look at these, and I'm going to approach now, Command and Control and Command 0, then one thing that's identical in these two, maybe blue is a bad color because I want you to see the bounding, so I'm going to do that color. Okay, so, and I'm going to make this a little bit fatter so that we can see a bit better what I mean. Okay, so this and this and this and this have been created with different tools, but ultimately, the construction is identical. What I mean is there's a path in the center, and the stroke is what gives it color, right? Depending on how fat or how thin that stroke is. And in fact, if you remember, so over here too, these two, you can see that there's a stroke in the middle. And then the pencil, I had it reach its ending, so it closed the circle. Remember that if I do this with a pencil and I get to the beginning, it closed the circle. Well, this time it didn't. There, I got to that little 0 and it closed it, versus if I had left it kind of, oh, that now that I want to do it, versus if I done that, it's not closing the circle. That right now is not a closed shape. It has a little path here that it begins there and another one and then there. They haven't connected, versus this one, it's one closed line. Remember that? All of this is just kind of review. The brush, I also made it in such a way that it's 2 separate bits and pieces. If I wanted to manipulate any of these, I could grab my white arrow tool, my direct selection tool, and I could go select that shape, and I could grab any of those anchors or handles to change it, right? I could create the handle to make the curve. get bigger or smaller. I can make the whole thing over. I can select, this we did once, I can select all of these at the same time and move it down, right? So this is the white arrow tool. What I need to handle are those paths and anchors that make my shape. If we're all good with that and you know what I'm talking, I'm going to do it here again. I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to grab these handles. Whoops. And manipulate it. I can also manipulate by grabbing the path. Yeah. And if I try to fill this one up, and I'm going to go to the regular bounding box, and if I try to fill this one up, it'll fill. And it'll do a good job of filling. If I try to fill one of these and I fill it, it's kind of weird, right? Because it doesn't have, it's not a closed shape. So the fill kind of goes wherever it can or where it wants to. I'm going to grab one of these and do the same thing. The ending point of this is not closed. So when I select it to fill it, it kind of does this shape, which isn't necessarily, I don't get to choose if I want the green to keep going there or to close there. Or it just kind of goes from tip of the beginning to tip of the end. That's where the shape gets filled. So from the tip of the beginning to the tip at the end, that's where you get some green. Versus if it's a closed shape, then it does a complete fill. Even if, and let me just show you, what if in this shape, I grab this guy and I turn it completely so that I have like this weird thing. But this follows. It doesn't go from here to here outside. It follows and it stays inside of the shape. Yeah. So if what if what I'm doing here worked and you go, yeah, I remember what you're talking about. This makes sense to me. I don't have any questions. Everything is good. Let me clear your answers. Hold on. Then give me a yes. I'd like you to try to recreate what I just did, right? So that you can really test it. You don't need to make 10 tools. You can make only a few, but I could completely keep moving this shape around based on grabbing two its anchors, its paths, or the handles. Whenever there's an ankle, that's a curved path. I could keep moving all of this as much as I want. I'm going to go Command 0. If this is so, if this makes sense, if this works. Oh, here's another example, by the way, where if I put this beginning and end point of this shape in those two different places and I try to fill it, it kind of goes from beginning to end. And so it does that weird line and then it fills that. So you can't control, you have no idea. There's no way to tell it where to fill. It just fills wherever it wants to. All right. If that makes sense and all is good and you don't have questions and you were able to reproduce this, give me a yes. If you have any questions or if you're not answering, I'll call on you. But I'm seeing yeses just about everywhere. Okay, good. So this is clear. Now, let's go ahead and save this file. And we're going to call this one drawing tools, I guess. I'm going to keep continuing with a little bit more with that. Okay, and okay. And hopefully you guys did a bit of this. And now let's move over to here because I'm going to show you a drawing tool that works exactly the opposite way. Exactly the opposite way. Yeah, a good enough circle that you put the beginning and the ending right next to each other, even if it's not closed, the fill would appear to be perfect because I'm answering, by the way. So Sambat wrote in the chat, he said, I realize a good enough circle can be filled with a brush tool. Yeah, if I had finished this brush tip right next to that one, then the circle would have looked completely well closed, right? But let me do that example on this one. If I were to put this tip, right, exactly next to that tip. Oh, it looks like it's closed, but it's not. It looks like it's closed, but it's not. the stroke does weird things because of the angle, but if I would have a thin stroke, sorry, if I were to have a really thin stroke on that, it might matter less. And if I were to now put a fill on that, ooh, open all the windows. Sorry, my son's cooking something and the alarm started going. He's burning something. Okay. All right. So then in this case, it kind of looks like it's a circle and it kind of looks like it worked. And in fact, if I were to take the fill of the stroke out, then it kind of does look like a shape that's a filled circle, right? Because it was a stroke that wasn't working. But if I were to take my arrow, I could still separate it, right? And this would have no path to handle it from. I'm going to go ahead and give it a stroke again, a color stroke again. And see, there's no real path. This is just a straight line. So if I were to want to curve it now to make it a tip of a heart, I can't. I have no control over that. I can't curve this fill. Anyway, so yeah, good observation and just showing you how as long as what you want is a straight line, if you curve this one, you can still curve it, but that one can't be curved, right? Because that is just a straight line that fills from tip to end, right? And if I was trying to do that, and you know, move it all out and do whatever, I'm stuck with this one still being a straight line because it's not a closed path. Okay? I can have all the curves I want everywhere else, but not on that one. Okay. Next page or next artboard. Let's go to the pencil tool and now let's choose the blob brush tool, the one we haven't used yet. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger and I'm going to choose a different color. I'm going to go with, have I used orange yet? I think I haven't used orange yet. And I have a fill and a stroke. Let me give it a fatter stroke, right? So I should have a fill that's orange and a stroke that's yellow. And now watch. Well, actually, let me do a straight line first. Straight line. Straight line. Remember let me undo that again. Remember I had a fill, an orange fill. Yeah, and a stroke. When I do that, where's the orange? You seen the orange anywhere? No. It is still only painting with a stroke. So in that sense, it's the same. But what's really different is that the stroke or the path, instead of going through the outsides, right? Which is what this one is. With the bob brush, oh, I didn't mean to change the blob brush. Oh, I changed the stroke to orange now because I selected that and so it kept that. Here's the big difference is where the path goes. Actually, maybe more, it would have made more sense to have brought in one of this one. I'll bring this whole thing over. Oh, I'm in the other arrow tool. So this line has the path is defining the shape and then the stroke, if it's big or small, right? So if I make a really tiny stroke on this, it's really skinny. If I make a really big stroke on it, it's really fat. This, on the other hand, all my path and anchors are on the outsides of the stroke. It's still a stroke when I'm making it, but right now, that is saying it's a fill and no stroke, right? And I can change the shape of this to make it a bit of a shape, as opposed to here, where what I'm changing is the path. Here, I'm changing all the color that's in there. So watch. I'm going to grab the blob brush one more time. And here's the cool thing. I still have yellow, right? Watch. This is really important. I'm going to fill. It's like a marker. I fill in. And what happens is that's where the stroke goes all the way on the outside. This is a bit more like what real painting or drawing does. If you want a marker, just you paint everything on the outside. And on top of that, if I paint over this one, oh, it wasn't selected, so that didn't work. I have to have this one I have to have them both selected. So what? Let me show you this again. If I have, because I did other stuff in the middle. If I do that, right? And then if I do that, and then if I do that, these are not three shapes, it's one. Did you see what I meant to show you with that? I'm going to move this, sorry, I'm going to move this over here to keep it a bit out of the way. This one a bit out of the way. This, if I grab the blob brush and it's selected, I can keep painting and it keeps growing. Again, I have to have it selected or I have to be making it. And then as I paint over, it's like I'm filling in, I'm filling in, I'm filling in. And when I let go, it's, I'm going back here for you to see the shape. It's one shape. That makes sense? See how different it is from the others? Now, what if I change color? If I go to my blob brush and go with pink, oh, I didn't mean to, not the one that's selected. If I now go to my blob brush with nothing selected and I go to yellow again or green again, and I try to paint over that, they don't merge. This is one shape and this is another shape. Does that make sense? This is one shape, this is another shape, and they will not merge as soon as you change the fill. You can put two that have the same color. So I'm going to put another blob over here that's orange. And when I try to merge it with this orange, just by putting it one on top of the other, it doesn't work. I created them separately. They are two separate ones. I can merge them. We can do merge and all the other stuff we've been doing. But since I didn't create them one versus this one is already selected. So now if I grab a brush and I keep painting onto it, then I am still selecting it. Everyone give it a big try. If there's a question or just, doesn't make sense, let me know. So different colors create different shapes, but even the same color, if it wasn't selected, so if I have nothing selected and I keep going with the same pink color and I try to paint over it, it's a separate, oh, did I have it selected? Okay, I didn't. And I grabbed the same color somehow. And I grabbed that brush and I went over this one that wasn't selected, and this time it joined. Okay. It's weird. It did join even if it wasn't selected. With nothing selected. Nothing selected. I select the bulb brush, and now change it to green. That's the same green. If I now go over here and try to paint over that one, okay. It is joining. As long as you have the exact same color, it does keep joining. So then these two, I must have had a different color on it to start with, and I changed it to orange or something because they're not. All right. Any questions, any ideas spurting from that? Any, wow, this is incredible or awesome or not, or whatever you want to say? Yes, Sisambat?
Not merging. The three pieces are not merging.
Yours are not, I see, oh, Blob gives us, no, brush and pencil isn't limited. The blob brush is a bit more how we're accustomed to painting with a marker, but it is limited in its own ways. And the brush, I mean, both have advantages and disadvantages. So neither is a limitation. They're just different, right? But yeah, if you, don't have them joining. I remember them not joining. That's why I was surprised when this did join. I'm wondering it's because if that's a change from 2025. I don't think so because I haven't read it anywhere. So at some point it began to join. Let's do this. Start again. Make a shape, let go, and immediately try again. Those should join no matter what since the beginning of time. Is that working? They need to overlap. So make a shape, don't go changing and stuff and just keep painting on it. Is that working? And yeah, this could have been the tail of your turkey, right? But yeah, that's working now. But look at the distinction is that if these, when you said, is it better or not? If this had been the tail of your turkey, all it does is the outline. You wouldn't see the line inside to bring the turkey line in. Does that make sense, you guys? What I'm saying? Let me delete a few of these. Once again, blob brush. If you're trying to make the turkey tail and you do this, the outside might look good, but you don't have lines inside. It's a blob. And you can't create lines inside of here. You don't have the creation path of this line and this line, this line. Now, if you were to make one, right? And it's kind of like the pencil tool that it forces itself to smooth out. If you make one and you make one and you make one, no matter how separate you want to have them so that you can have outlines or strokes, the stroke is going to just be the whole thing. Versus if you were to make one there, one there, one there, and one there, and one there, right? Then when you try to put them together without using the blob brush anymore, then they do have distinct pieces such that you could make a different color, right? They could be 4 different colors now because you made separate blobs. But in that case, you could have done them in either way, right? But if you tried to have them have, so now I'm going to try to give it a stroke of dark blue and make it 7 points. I can do that, right? And I can give that same stroke to everything. I don't know. Let me go with the blue that I haven't used yet. And let's say 4 points to everyone. Now I have a way to distinguish them versus here with this blob, you can't do that, right? There's no way to get in there. So neither one is better or worse. It's just different needs. Does that make sense? When you need the separate shapes to be individually handled, you can't have them have the lines. Now, if I were to select all of these and try to use the shape builder tool to join them, same thing would happen, right? Like it would go down to being that, except for, here's the good news. I do have, Barbara in, I do have a chance to have these lines. If I give this one a stroke, same stroke, 6 points, then it just goes around the edges, but doesn't go, well, it kind of ultimately at this point, it does do the same because those were close up. So you can go around the thing and do it, but this one, I'm gonna undo Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, Command Z. This one is ultimately 7 different group individual or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus this is only one piece. So it's got whatever limitation it has to do of whenever you join a piece. I'm going to put these over here, move these over a little bit and move these as a group to put them over here and I'm going to put this one back where it came. So here I'm showing you different sets of the blob brush as individual bits or pieces. So that's the whole blob brush. All right. Any questions? Any other questions? Give me a yes if you were able to use the blob brush. Give me ideas now. Oh, and this doesn't merge with that. So even if I have the same color of shape or whatever, if I had this orange under that one, I can't like paint over this and have that join that. They're just two different structures. Like this is a skeleton and this is, and then the rest goes in or outside of it versus this is kind of like the outline versus the skeleton. You don't have so if I were to want to curve, say that I make a paintbrush line like that, right? And I want to curve it, I can just grab these bars. This would have been less, move a piece, or I could just grab a few of these. I could just grab all these middle ones and move them up, right? So you can still do that. Versus this one, it's doesn't have a backbone, so to say. And so if I want to curve it like those middle pieces, if I select that and bring it out, it's like it's individual. It's harder to change the shape of this, but it's not hard to grab again a broad brush with the same color and then do that. And not only that, but what happens if I want to get rid, nope. I'm gonna double click on the blood brush. Hold on. Give me a second because let me just check for a second on Essentials Classic where the original blob was. You could put it in the negative mode. Trying to see if you could now take some of this away. I thought it had a negative mode where you could then erase it. No, so the opposite of the blob brush would be the eraser, which is right underneath. Let me go back to the Essentials tools. So if you do a blob brush, right, and you add to it and you like that, but you want to get rid of some point, you go to the eraser tool, which we haven't used yet. Down here, there's the eraser tool, and then you erase parts and pieces of it. Right, so I'm going to undo. Let me go a bit closer. If I want to erase some of that, I'm going to make it the eraser a little bit bigger with the same tool with the area codes. And then it looks like I'm painting white, but when I let go, I've eaten into it. Okay. So then I shape it. Now this wouldn't have worked for the handles that Stan made, right? Because I would have made a circle like that, kind of as good as I can. Then I would have grabbed the eraser and tried to do that to best of my ability. And it would have been okay-ish, but it wouldn't have been really precise or symmetrical. So you truly needed the other tools to do that, right? Like you can't, it's very hard to freehand something that's absolutely symmetrical. But if this were a drawing that's more freestyle, that would have been fine to have it be a line that's like that. You do your best, and next thing you know, you got something relatively similar. You know what I'm trying to say? Anyway, so then you can keep adding to it. You go, no, that was wrong. I had to make it like that. Well, you can, and then you erase what you don't want. You wanted it to be like that, right? So it's a back and forth and back and forth. That's not to say that you can't erase some things. If I grab this line here and I grab the eraser tool, I could suddenly erase it and divide it into two. So this eraser tool could get in there, and I know that's true. It needs to be selected.
And you control the hardness of the eraser?
No, the size and the shape, but not the hardness. So here's the eraser tool options. Feathering is not a thing in Illustrator as much as it is in like Photoshop or something. So it's vectors, remember? So the feathering, the hardness isn't, I can't make this be a floofy edge, but I
Yeah.
can change its angle or roundness. So how did I do this? Remember that a lot of these tools, if you double click on them, double click on the tool itself, you get some choices. So I could go ahead and make my my roundness. It could be, the eraser could be an oval, right? And I can change the order in which I want it to be. So now when I say okay, if I select this shape, and I erase, I can have like a different, sorry, that wasn't selected, like a shape to my eraser, right? I can make it smaller and draw that little thing in there, and then I have that inside. I've separated them into different shapes and tools. What do you guys think of the blob plus erase?
That's really cool.
I think it was cool.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
draw, but
Many times I'm showing you guys are so, you guys, just so you know, you guys are fast. And many times I don't get to the blob tool. I move on with other important things that you guys need to know, but I don't get to the blob tool. A lot of people malign the blob tool. Illustrator, many times people snub their noses at the blob tool. I think that it's pretty versatile and fascinating. It's limited in certain ways, but it's also pretty awesome when you want to do something similar to drawing in real hand and real life versus the pen tool is much more, your brain has to make it work. It's not so cleanly obvious. So yeah, blob and eraser, go ahead and give me some, I'm gonna move this out of the way, move these in and do this as a screenshot. And here I have a whole combo of things going on. Let me go over to Padlet. And I'm going to go ahead and just to show you my entire screen. For those of you who do see your entire screen, if you're on a Mac or an PC, I save this to the my screenshot saves to the desktop on a Mac. Watch, I can just grab it and put it in here and let go. And I don't have to go find it. My post opens up. I write Diana, and then over here I write, right? Between line, brush, created shape, which I could also, by the way, this would have been, or pen and curvature tool, which I haven't yet shown you here, but it would have, where it will look exactly the same. The only tool that works differently is the blob tool. The differences between that and the way the blob tool creates a shape. Okay. The blob tool is more akin to real life drawing with a marker, so to say. I know I'm just trying to throw them out. You can use the eraser tool to erase parts you don't want. Only blobs, let me call them, of the same color join with blobs. Only the same join. Different blob, different colored blobs do not join. Okay. So there, that's kind of that. And then Moni, you went with a turkey already. Okay, there you go. And see, but that's interesting. Was that an eraser or was that a white blob on top? Because you can do it both ways.
Yeah, I just did it really fast. It is eraser, but
It is
it's
eraser,
obviously
okay.
the way it's done, it's not very.
But it depends. You need to try both because you could have done a white blob that would be on top and you then manipulate it in one way. Or you could have done a white line that then you could manipulate easier to curve one way or another, right? A white brush or a white line. Or you could have done the eraser. And then the only thing is that if you wanted this to curve in the other direction, it'll be a bit harder to make that white line curve in the other direction unless you can fill in again with a blob and then re-erase in the other direction, you know, so it's just tools. It's just tools that give you different choices, right? So great. If anyone wants to try to reproduce what they did before, or you want to make something different, that's fine. But if you want to try to reproduce what you did before now with the blob tool, and then you can begin to think which one's better or worse. My point is the combination, right? Like if I had done, let me go back to Illustrator. If this was, let me go back up here. If this is my tail, and we're talking, oh, and these are showing as one because they barely touch there. How funny. So if this was what I was trying to do with the tail, I could have come in here and with a, I'm going to show you a pen tool later, but with a paintbrush, with a white stroke. Nope, I didn't want to white. That's the part that's hard. I can't change that. I need to first get my paint. This is the part that's always weird. You need to first get your paintbrush set with a white fill before you can, and then so they see if these were my lines for the turkey feathers, for example, this has a stroke in the middle and that had the strokes on the outsides, right? So it works differently. Let me actually undo too. And then if this instead was me selecting the green blob and erasing, right? And now I kept it in that weird shape. So it looks different, but it's only because my shape is different. And if I did this, then if I wanted to change the direct, here, let me do the last one kind of off like that. And if I wanted this one to go in the same direction of those, it would be much harder because I have a ton of different points to handle than if I had this and I just handle, whoops, if I had that. And if this was a pencil, I can go in and keep moving it forward, or I can select. See, this is when you need to lock something. I'm trying to select 4 of these anchors like that, and I can't because what happens is the bottom one. So this is where if I had layers right now, I would just go to the layers and very simply lock this guy for a second so that I can choose those, right? And then I can move them around and do whatever I need to do. Maybe I'm going to move this one over that way and this one that way and this one that way. You know, I move what you can. I haven't taught you yet how to be completely in control of these guys, but versus this one, I would have to handle all of the different points. So there's no better or worse. It depends on what is your style, what you need to do, what it is that you're trying to do. And in a line, the least amount of anchors and stuff is the best. That's why the tool that we learned in the pencil tool, where you do like that, but then you kind of go over it and smooth it, right? Well, that smoothed a little bit too much, but if you smooth it, well, okay. Like if I go there, all right, today it's not wanting to, I'm trying to get it to just smooth, not to change shape. But anyway, if you do that and it smooths too much, for some reason in this example, it must be really tiny, then it's easier to then select that and just move the whole curve over, right? Because the least amount of paths and anchors, the more chances you have to modify something without having to, you know, move bazillions of different things to get the curve to work well, right? So anyway, different needs, different options, and all of it is good. Just depends on what you have to do. Now, I will say that at some point, if you do want to have all the stuff from one artboard into another, remember that you can just grab all of this, select it, and group it, right? Make a group out of that. And then select all of this, make another group out of that. I don't necessarily always do that, but that might make it easier, for example, for the chick and the fish and the whatever. And then when I go in here, I have my my group. Oh, I didn't do the second group. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to Command G on that one. So now that is one group. Where's the other group? Oh, I hadn't done the first group. Because I went and I don't like when I click here, it doesn't, it's not as clear to me. So here I have one group and here another group, which is basically, I could just have that be the chick and that's the fish, right? And then I start inside of that to deal with what part is the chick and the feathers and the scales. But that kind of helps if you want to make it easier to know what's in what page. when things are grouped though, you still need to remember to double click if I now wanted to work on them. So it's one extra step. I'll have to double click on this one and double click to get into this pink one, to then grab the blob brush and keep adding to it. Or the eraser to take away from it, right? Oh, and then when I do that with the eraser, these have become separate pieces, okay? So this that I erased there now is its own piece. It's not like it continues to move in position. This has been separated from the shape, okay? These are now, if I want to move this shape with that, I need to select it again and group it, okay? Because my eraser has, let me do something that's more logical. If I were to erase a path like that, right? Now this shape is truly two shapes. It's not the one shape. Now one shape is that and one shape is that, okay? So if my point was that I needed to keep these together, then I need to select these two and regroup them so they move together. So I would go in here and I would go in there and I would have to group this one and this one, make a group out of them now. Good. And now I can move them together again. Because once you isolate the piece completely, like I did here, let me move this one out of the way, then that turns into two different objects. Okay, so just keep an eye on that. Which over here, this would have been two different objects, right? When I did this, this would have already been an object plus its tail, like it would have been separate, versus this, it might have made not more sense that if I were to have cut through, why would that piece of the tail be a different shape? But the green stays as a shape, and then I move these lines wherever I want them, versus this, which is like really cutting into the shape when I make them transparent. Oh, and another thing too, is that this now became transparent because I literally erased it, versus this stays on as white. So those are the little differences, right? Why would you use one or the other? This one, if the point is to have a turkey that has a white line, works, versus had I used the eraser, then I'll see whatever's underneath. What if underneath I have, that I want it to be standing on an orange? Well, turkey's tails don't have a hole in them. So then you would see an orange and it would look weird. So again, different tool for different needs, not necessarily you have to consider what the tool does. Does that make sense? I'm glad that that's happened over there because I remember to tell you that. So it's not identical. It's just for some things one, for some things the other. Make sure to save your your file. Barbara, how do you get a screenshot to stay on the desktop? When I do it, the shot flies over to the desktop and then it disappears. No, if it's on the desktop, if you save it on the desktop, you should see it on the desktop. If you're on a Mac and you make
It's before I get to save it.
no,
when
if
I
it
do
I don't I don't know which way you're doing a screenshot, but I'm doing it by Command Shift 4, and I
That's what I
click
do, and
and
then
I
I
let
drop.
go, and then it goes here. It shows it to me because I could delete it for now, and if I don't want to delete it, I don't do anything, and in like 3 seconds, it moves itself to the desktop. But the moment I'm doing it, right, let me do it in a different color. So the moment I did the screenshot and it's here, this I could still click on and say, nah, I don't want to get rid of it, right? But I didn't get rid of it there. I could go on over there and said, so it doesn't go to the desktop until it's kind of ignored by me. Then it dumps itself onto the desktop. So the thing it does here that disappears is like a temporary, is this what you wanted? And then you go, oh, no, I didn't get the right thing. So you get rid of it. But if you ignore it because it was the right thing, then it settles into the desktop. So you should have these on the desktop. I'm going to delete these two because I don't want extra ones that I don't need.
Mine doesn't stay on the desktop.
Well, go ahead and
Yeah,
share your screen because something's weird there. Just give it a
Okay.
quick share to your screen. And then, guys, we're gonna, if there's other questions about these tools, then
Shift
we'll
one.
talk about it. Okay, so go ahead and do a little move, Command Shift 4. There it goes. Now wait it out. Don't touch it. And let's go see what it does. Now move your thing over. And it's not on your desk. Is it one of those little ones there? No.
No,
could-
view 2, oh, Diane, oh, Bruce desktop. To develop, to printer, September.
Huh. Okay, so you can change the settings, and it could be that in your choice where you have said where things saved to, you might have had it saved to a different folder. Did you ever change the folder that your screenshots get saved to?
No,
So, well,
because I
but
take,
you obviously, believe it or not, you did, because otherwise it would be here. This is where screenshots by default go. But
well, I might have and not known it.
yeah, exactly. So there's, I'm trying to think where that setting is.
Is it in settings or is
S-
it in?
it's a setting, but I need to figure out where. I'll look into it. Because you can change where,
If
change
I'm trying to
where,
find something in a MacBook, I never know what to look under. What would I look under? I have an old MacBook.
okay, so go to your Mac, hold down the Command Shift 5,
Command Shift.
Command Shift 5, and now go to the options, which are bottom right, bottom. There's a little tab that says Capture Camera Options. Yeah, go to the options. Yeah. And then it says, that's saved to the desktop. But this is a different tool. This isn't the shortcut of Command Shift 4. This is a Command Shift 5. So that does have it set to desktop. So the Command Shift 4 that I use for, because right now I keep using the Command Shift 4 that's been around for eons. The Command Shift 5 is really the new tool where you can record. See, right now, this is a bit more like the PC one. Now you can move this box over to the flower that you're making. You can click and drag it over. You can change its size, right? And then when you're done, you go down to the bottom and you say capture. And then that would be it. And that one, let's see,
And
it
it's
should.
down here.
Let it be. Yeah, that's temporary. If you click on it, things happen. Let it be. And it should, there, that one. See, it's like it's saved. It moved your stuff over. Are you sure you don't have some like rule putting your
You know
stuff?
what? I have a little tiny orange dot up here to the right of the icon of the hard drive.
Yeah,
You know
maybe,
what that is?
I don't know. Go click on it or drag it in. I can't see it well.
Whoops, there it is. That's what that is.
Oh, okay. So that's
these
your
things.
other tool. Because you were in full screen mode. Go away. So I don't know. I'll have to see where are your screenshots going? So what you could do now is do a screenshot search, for example.
how do I
No,
get rid
Oh,
of
no. Okay. Take my Mac classes. What you're doing?
I
Don't
do
do
take
that.
your Mac classes.
All right, but I haven't done to this. Don't do that. You've just gotten rid of all the choices that appear in that. So just go up to
Yeah.
that little orange dot and click on that again to have this disappear. But don't, yeah.
Okay.
Now you've gotten rid of things that thing shows you. If you never use it, who cares, right? But yeah, but your Mac, your screenshot showed up, moved over, and then disappeared.
Then it disappears.
Go to your last thing, because this is a Mac thing we're gonna go over, but go to your Finder window open a Finder window and click on the desktop for a second. Yeah, click on your desktop. On the left side, click on the word desktop. Left side. Yeah. Click on it. The word yeah, click on the word desktop. You're not clicking. Click.
I did. Let me close that back up then. I'm grayed
No.
out over here. Desktop.
That is so weird. Why is it not going to the desktop? Double click on
I
it,
don't
maybe?
know.
No, that's applications. Don't bother going there. Move up to the top where it says favorites. Right above. Now I want to do this fast because I need to get the class going. Request remote control. Give me, stop moving. Say yes to request remote control. Okay, don't move your mouse anymore.
See how it's grayed out?
Seems really bizarre. Let me open up another Finder window. Okay, that's my reminder. Can you open up another Finder window and don't touch it? I can't. No, Finder window.
I think.
Okay, now don't move your mouse. Something really strange. It's all grayed out.
Yeah.
If this is not something that Zoom is doing, then something's you're in my Finder in my Mac class right now. Is this new? Is it
Yes,
happening
I
right?
am.
Is it happening today? Because we've been doing all this work before. So weird. Doesn't even let me choose that. This is the applications. If I close.
Here, let me move the pictures of everybody over.
Users,
Uh,
Dropbox downloads, public, make application. Yeah, it's so bizarre. I'm gonna stop this because I don't know what's happening.
okay.
Something's weird there. We need to spend a bit more time in the Mac class with that. Okay. Guys, let's do our break. I don't see any more hands up for questions. So,
Ugh,
it's 10:41. Be
sorry
back
I was so late.
at, it's okay, 10:41. Somebody please figure out 15 minutes. 10:40 would have been 56, right? 10:56 a.m. Is that right? Is that about 15 minutes? Sometimes I'll give you 5 minutes, sometimes I'll give you 25. So I just want to make sure I'm in the
Here,
ballpark.
you want 15 minutes?
That does it or not? Yep. Okay, good. All right. See you
yeah.
guys then in 15 minutes.
Oh, I don't.
Hey, hey. All right. Okay. All right, so checking in. I was outside and I got warm. The sun is pretty hot, but then I came inside and my house is freezing. Put this jacket on again for a little bit until I can warm up and take it off. Ugh. Okay. So, oh, got the wrong pen.
I brought up that desktop.
You found it? You figured it
Oh.
out? Or what?
No, I got it to not be grayed out when I went to Finder
Weird.
and
Yeah.
then clicked on desktop. Can I share my screen again?
Go for it
1
really
second
quickly.
here.
I'm gonna keep moving, but go for it. Okay. And all right, and do you have any of your screenshots in there? No, you don't. So we need to figure out what's your default setting when you do the Command Shift 4 about where they're going. Command Shift 5, because they're not going to your desktop, even though it said that. So
No,
I
they
don't know.
aren't. Well, they fly over there for about 20 seconds.
There's a chance. Do you have another? Sometimes people have two desktops going. Do you have another desktop?
No, I have
going?
another monitor. I can't find a plug adapter. It was
No,
to
no, but another monitor isn't another desktop. The Mac can have two virtual desktops going. Anyway, I'm gonna stop there and continue with Illustrator. I don't know where your screenshots are right now. What you should do instead of doing the Command Shift 4 is you do Command Shift 4 and Control. So it's Command Control. That's three fingers. Shift Control Command. Shift Control Command. So you add control to that and 4.
Shift Control Command.
And what that does
4.
is it copies it. So that makes a copy. Instead of making a screenshot, it just makes a copy. And then when you go, you just do a Command V paste, and then you paste the image in there, and there's no screenshot left over, which is probably better so if you don't want loose screenshots.
I
Okay.
do the 4 also though, right?
Yeah, but you hold the Command Shift 4 first, and then when you're making your square, you then put your finger down on the control. And it's kind of like a weird little,
Oh, then
your
you
hand.
hold control while you draw around it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you get it's like your finger hands all over the place, but then you get a copy, and then you don't have a screenshot, but you paste it into whatever document you're in. In this case, you paste it into your Padlet. This is for everyone who doesn't want to have bazillions of screenshots hanging around. It's Command Shift for Control gets you a copies that which you're screenshotting, and then you paste it whenever you're ready to paste it into something. All right.
Thank you, Diane.
You're welcome. Give
I
that a try.
looked screenshot up in the old MacBook I have. It's not even listed in the back.
Well, over here where it says how to make a screenshot, one thing is that for the Windows, I have basically the equivalent. I have Windows Shift key S. It copies it. Then you can paste it, right? For the Mac, I just had you do a screenshot. But if I were to say, let me add that, edit, or Shift plus Command plus 4,
Oh, like that.
then you
Who's control?
then draw your square, and before you release your mouse, you also press down the control key. Or instead of pressing that control key, you could right click. It's more complicated.
No practice. That didn't work for me. It flew away.
That copies the image instead of creating a screenshot. You can Command plus V to paste it into the post. Okay, So I'll go in and write this up a little bit better, but there, now it's there for people who are interested in doing that. Okay, back to Illustrator. Try that one out, you guys. And one more thing, when you paste it, PC people have tried it out, but Mac people, if you're going to do this, you'd wonder when to paste. So say that I do right now a Command-Shift-4. Watch. I'm beginning to copy, and now I hold the control down. You don't hold it from the beginning. So now I held the control down and I let go. So there's no screenshot happening, but it's in my memory. So when I go post, I still have to put my name, and then I have to click here on the write something incredible. Then I paste Command V, and that's when the paste happens in there. Okay. So this was pasted, right? And then I publish. All right. So it's when you're going to go write. You don't go to any of those little icons in there. You go into I'm going to go write something, and you do the Command V, and that's a paste. And I don't have any lingering screenshots hanging out there, which is very convenient when you have too many screenshots that are unnecessary. But if you're not about to do it because you have to post it later, then just do a regular screenshot, leave it out there, and then you do your posts later. Okay. All right. How are we doing here? Oh, I forgot. I'm going to start it now, which means it's kind of late. But are you guys seeing something that says, what does it say? Something about AI. Read to me what it says.
This meeting's being transcribed for AI companion.
Okay. So
Yeah.
a little something appeared somewhere that you can say, okay. It's kind of like when it says this meeting is being recorded, it's a warning to you guys. So I've tried it out in my Photoshop class and in my Mac class. I've only really gotten reviews from my Photoshop people yet. And what's happening is Zoom is listening in, and when the class is done, it'll send me a summary of what happened. And what I discovered is no good for teaching. It's not like it's going to be handouts that you're going to be able to read the steps of what to do, but it'll say things like, Diana demonstrated the blob brush tool and mentioned that it's the opposite of the other one. And when you use it, you have to have the same color, that kind of thing. But it won't show you the sliders. It won't go step by step, that kind of thing. It's a summary. She discussed the difference between using the blob brush and the pencil brush. It'll say things like that, right? The thing that I found is that when I posted it for Photoshop users is that when you go to, this is the one advantage that we found, which is that when you go right now to let me share my screen, to the recordings, right?
That would be a brief on to help you know which recording
Yeah,
you're listening
so
to.
exactly. When you go to my recordings right now, you just have this, right? And you don't know what's where. If you miss the class, you have to see the whole thing. But what would be helpful, and I put it in let me just show you the Photoshop one really quickly. And I'm going to see if I can make it a bit easier because it took quite a while for me to transcribe it in a way that made sense. But here's my Photoshop one where I clicked, check out the iMeeting summary. So when you click in there, then I had to transcribe it here. And that's the part, it's not, I can't edit it, right? And so there's some mistakes, but it says the meeting focused on, and it does a recap. Then next step is whenever I said, hey, next week, do this or that, it kind of throws it in here. So all attendees have to take screenshots of their camera raw and post them to shared Padlet. It just said that because that was one of the things I said, everyone take a screenshot of this one, right? So then it turns it into that. All attendees to review the recording for better understanding of smart options non-distracted. At some point I said, hey, if you're going to review this, please check the video. And so that's how it says it, right? So anyway, I don't know how useful this is, but then it starts summarizing everything that I did. And Deanna discussed the benefits of a camera around Photoshop together, emphasizing the ability to keep editing, making changes without looking in place. She demonstrated how to open a photo, but it doesn't show you how I did it. She demonstrated how you do it. So this isn't a notes or handout to teach you how to do that because it always says she demonstrated. It doesn't say, go to this button, click on this, move it up, right?
Like
It
an
just says,
overview.
she demonstrated. But it kind of helps if you're wondering, when did you talk about smart objects? Oh, right there at the end. And so then when you go to the video, you'll know to open the second part and to go view that at the end, right? Does that make sense? So it's kind of,
That makes so much sense.
kind of helps you if you're looking at these three going, when did she talk about, triangles? Well, maybe if you read the review, you can see that she showed how to make a triangle. It doesn't teach you how to make a triangle, but you know to go to that
That's
video
good.
because that's where I talked about triangles, right? So that's it. It seemed to have worked like that. Photoshop people say they liked it for that. It took me a bunch to get this here. So if I make it easier, I'm going to start posting it with the videos, but it's not an exchange of the video. It's just for you to be able to have an idea of what happened in that video, but it doesn't replace. People were like, oh, I prefer the video. No, 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 I'm not taking off the video. I would be in addition to the video is truly it. If it becomes less onerous than it did where it be to create this for you, this one I had to copy, paste, reformat, and there's enough putting up the videos that I wouldn't do that. But if I can find a way to make it simpler, then I'll post it. Now today's will only be posted for the after break, right? Because I forgot to turn it on. I don't have it in my brain yet as the normal thing to do. But anyway, I'll give it a try and then you guys can tell me if you like it or not. And if so, I'll start implementing it for the spring semester. All right. Illustrator. So, okay. So you might, if you filled more than two and you're still on, if you filled more than two of these and you have, I'm going to mute you for a second here, Barb. There we go. Then go ahead and make more, I need to, moving things out of the way. Zoom got in the way. There we go. Then, why is that? I'm having to move things out because Zoom is, there we go. All right. Let's go to the other two or add more panels, but now I'm going to show you, there's a couple of other drawing tools. No, I'm sorry. There's a couple of other tools under the eraser. Oh, there should be two, but I guess in the essentials mode, they left only one. So let me show you the scissors. So I'm going to make a rectangle right there. And since I didn't have anything selected, it has no fill and no stroke. Let me just give it a fill and a stroke so it's very clear what the scissors does. The stroke will be pink. Okay. So now I'm going to Command 0 to open that one. Okay. So the eraser we already saw, you just kind of go in there and it completely gets rid of a portion, right? I'm going to undo that because you saw that. By the way, I'm going to double click to make this one go back to being fully round because I don't want to then when I demo have it to start being weird. Let me just 90. Okay. So that's so that when I use the eraser, I don't have that weird shape for now. Okay. So notice that what happened is since if I had to stroke the stroke way around it. Okay. So that's the eraser that we discussed. The scissors tool, right? I'm going to go up. If I try to use it in the middle, anywhere here, this comes up. Please use a scissors tool on a segment or an anchor point, but not an end point of a path. So what that means is if I click on this point right there, right? So if I click on that and then click on this one, it's kind of hard. This one doesn't have many. Let me make a more complicated shape. Hold on. Let me make a more complicated shape using those same
Make a
tools.
star.
Yeah, make a star, or let me just actually write it, paint something up. There, right? So with that shape, now I'm going to zoom into that. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Okay. So then I usually use the knife, not the scissors. So that's interesting. So I can click on this one right there, and then I click on that one and watch. I have separated the shape. So let me do that again. I have to recreate the shape. Let me go back to the pencil again. So if I click on this path and that one, not path, I didn't do the scissors.
I
Sorry, there.
don't see where you're clicking.
Yeah, so I'm gonna, my mouse right here, I'm gonna say that this top one. There, you see it now? Click on this anchor right there. Now I'm gonna go and click on this anchor right there, And so now what I've done, I have separated these two objects. Does that make sense? It's like I scissored, I went and cut through this shape. Right? So that's why on the rectangle is a bit weird because, you know, when I clicked on this one and I clicked on that one and that one, then when you pay attention, all I did was really separate the path. Does that make sense? Because I had gone in a rectangle, it's more complicated. But what I could have done on a rectangle is use the scissors to click from here to there. Then when I do that, I have separated it into two. But these are not closed shapes anymore. They are now open shapes doing this thing, doing this thing that we talked about before, where the finish ends wherever it wants to, right? Nearest line to nearest line. Okay. Is that working for you guys? This is the scissors. I actually preferred the knife. And the knife isn't one of the tools that's here under the essentials, so I'm going to go show it to you guys. But the scissors, literally, you grab a piece of paper, you cut through, but when you first do it, the object is exactly the same. So you need to separate it to see that you have cut through it. If that worked for you and all is good, let me clean your feedback first. If all is good and that worked and you don't have any questions, then give me a yes. If instead it's not working or something's weird and you have some questions, then give me a no. So now these are two independent, completely independent shapes, but they're not complete and closed shapes. All good? Rachel, what's up?
Yeah, I couldn't quite get the rectangle to work. Just
Yeah,
to get the anchors.
ignore the rectangle for now. Try out until you get it with a shape that's more complicated. Grab a blob. I'm gonna go make a blob. There's a blob. Now I'm gonna go grab my scissors tool. Let me zoom in to the blob. You need to select the blob, of course, and zoom in. Then grab your scissors and you click on one anchor and on another anchor. Now, when you do that, that distance between those two has been separated, which doesn't really work because this is all ooey fluey shapes and then frunk straight. So you have to make sure when you use it or not. So Julie, when you were asking how to empty out this out there, you could consider now selecting each shape and then finding a point there that you can delete and there and then separate. I think it's much more complicated than doing what I said before, but you could, see, cut that piece out. Does that make sense?
Yes, I will
Jie,
try.
not Julie, Jie.
Yeah.
Julie is right under you in my box and I looked up and said Julie. But I don't recommend it. I'm just saying that's another possibility. I think the shape builder is easier,
Yeah.
but there you go. So that's just, you know, a plan B or plan C. There's so many ways to do everything that you need to find the one that you know and remember and you think works best, right? So that's the scissors tool. So then again, I'm going to do a screenshot, but this time I'm going to go screen. I'm doing Shift Command 4. I'm dragging and then I'm holding the control key before I let go. So now it's gone as a paste, as a copy. And I'm going to go in here. I'm going to say Diana. And then when I click on write something fantastic, Command V for paste. There we go. And now I'm going to write, use the scissors tool to separate an object by clicking on the anchors. You then anchors. Then you have to pull it apart to see where you cut the object. Okay. To clicking on the on two anchors, right? I believe, can you cut, I believe there's a difference in how since I don't normally use the scissors, I use the knife. I just don't remember right now. Can you also cut through can you click on paths? Click from there to there. Yeah, you can also click in the middle of a path. Wait, but something weird happened here to the shape then when I did that. Yeah, so see the fill? When I now click over, the fill is going from beginning to end point, right? That's what happens when it's not a full object. So now when I clicked from there to there, right? And I separated this piece, then this one here was and last time I had done it differently. I clicked from here to here. Then I take this little bit out, but now there's this weirdness there and that weirdness there. And it's because all the pieces are basically at this point, I would just say add no fill, right? I would just go no fill and keep it as a line. But just so you know, this is the kind of thing that you can do line to line. And so I'm going to correct myself any part, not just on. So I'm going to edit this one onto anchors or paths. Then you pull it apart to see. If you had a fill, then the fill goes in a straight line from the, let's say, first anchor to the last anchor of the object. Someone else had said no, but I think Vera, so tell me what's up. How can I help you?
I lost you right where you started to cut and nothing cuts.
All right.
So can I
So,
share?
yeah, but let me just show you one more time before I do that. You have to have it selected. Let me go through the steps. Selected first. Then you click on two parts. And, oh, well, the blob, it kind of does make sense, but on the rest. So I'm going to select this piece, right? And then when I click on that, that's not this is now not a line. It can only click from here to here, for example. Nothing looks like it happened until you separate it. Okay, so now I'm left with two little lines and a thing. So that's what I'm saying. The rectangle is a bit weird. Make sure to try it on a shape that you can see what's happening. Now, if that still didn't work, yeah. Do you want to share?
Okay.
Okay, go for it. Just wanted to repeat the steps because sometimes it's got to do with not having a selection or something like
Okay.
that goes in the way.
This one's a
Okay.
blob. And how am I going to cut this? So I
Okay,
got
so
scissors
select the scissors, click on that anchor, for example.
down here,
No,
or
those are never anchored. Those are handles to manage the tool. So the anchor or the path would be the line. Yeah, click in there. Just
go
single click.
across to another
And
one?
now click on another anchor or path right on it. Yeah, click. Good. Now go back to your selection tool, black selection tool, and pull them apart.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So
All right.
you visibly don't see it happening until you pull them apart.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
But if you were to want to keep them together, go ahead and do undo twice. Undo, Command Z, Command Z. Now go to the fill and change the fill of one of them. And before you couldn't have had two fills, right? But now make it yellow or whatever. And you can have a shape that looks like it's full, but it has two colors, which before you couldn't have, except for you have no control where that line is going to be, right? Because
Pull
that
it,
line,
okay. I don't have to go back to the scissors to pull it apart then.
no, the scissors cuts. And now with the tool that you handle objects, you separate them and do whatever you were going to do with them. But you could also not separate them, considering that, which is they're two different objects now. They could have different fill, different stroke is what the point I was making here, even though they remain together and they look like one shape. But you don't control where that line happens other than being very precise at which points. If you want a straight line, it works. But if you wanted this to be a wavy line that separates pink from orange, that wouldn't have worked. Does that make sense? Because now there's no paths or anchors on that line. So that line is not editable. It's not movable. It'll always go from end to end. You didn't create new path there. Does that make sense what I'm trying to explain?
Yes.
The last part, there's no, let me share again. There's no path available. I'm going to zoom in. There's no path or anchor here. So if I were to want to make this bead 2 lines and a wavy yellow, I can't. There's nothing here that allows me to pick it up and turn this into a wavy layer. This is a fill that has no manipulation available to it. Does that make sense? I can't have this now curve. When I cut, and this now
You
can't be
can't
joined.
add an anchor point.
There's a way to join these. I can click, no, it's not a path. So there's no way to add an anchor point. Some of you guys, I haven't showed you today. I'm going to show you that you can add anchor points and stuff. I haven't shown that to the class yet, but no, there is no way to add an anchor point because there has to be a path for me to add an anchor point, and there is none. Now, if I select this one, shift, and this one with the white selection tool, I selected those two, the 2 ending points. There is a object path join where I created it. Okay, so watch. I select that final piece, that final anchor with, now I have the white selection tool. It's the only way I can select one anchor. White selection tool, select that anchor. Hold down my shift key, select the final anchor. Right? And then object path, I'm joining that path, but I can only if I have the 2 endpoints. And now I've created actually a line that will allow me, if I want to manipulate that shape, which I will teach you how to do today. I haven't shown you yet how to add another point, but now that is an actual line.
So you selected 2 points.
Yeah, so I selected. Let me back
Oh,
up.
right, with the leather tops. Yeah.
That there
I remember.
is the
Amazing.
final anchor. And this is that final anchor. This and the beginning and end, the one where that fill is going from too. So if I select that one, shift, and that one, so now I've selected
Okay.
both.
Yeah, I'm not on Facebook very much. I'm kind of
Julie, I'm gonna
Facebook person.
Julie,
I am impressive.
Julie, I can't reach you right now,
no,
but
I'm
I
here.
need
Yep.
mute you. There. I muted you, Julie. You were talking and I couldn't speak over you. Okay. I had to find you. Okay, so now with those 2 selected, it's object, path, join. The shortcut is Command J. And there you go. Now I've been able to, now I can manipulate these. And I'm going to show you how, because I haven't yet, in this class at least, how to add more paths and take away to be able to make this a curvy shape. But that's coming next. Okay. For those of you who haven't taken the class before, give it a second. For those of you who know how to, now you know what you can do. All right. So that's the scissors. Let me add then in here. Where's mine? That's the scissors tool. Oh, let me scroll down and say, if you want to, you can join the beginning and the end points by selecting with the, I'm going to call it it is the direct selection tool, the white one, the white arrow, and hold shift to select both, then go up to object, path, join, shortcut, Command J. Okay. I'm writing all these instructions here. I'm not starting yet with the homework, but you know the homework will be to practice, right? To create a shape where you have to cut and you have to join and all the kind of stuff that we're talking about. But look at how cool. Here she cut this shape and then she used that little space to put something else in there. Very fun. Great. Okay. let me clean your answers. And now, so that's the scissors tool. Now over here, let's do another wild shape. I'm gonna go ahead and grab one that we already have. Copy that one and paste the wild shape in here so I don't have to make another one, just to make it faster. Another shape. And the tool that's not here that I wanted to show you, this shows eraser and scissors. In the past, you used to have a knife tool. If you want to add tools, you can go to these three little dots and find a tool that's missing, right? So but right now, I'm just going to really quickly not add it. I'm going to show it to you. And then if you like it, you can add it. I'm going to go over here to the Essentials. I'm going to choose Essentials Classic really quickly. And there, see under the scissors, you have the eraser, the scissors, and the knife, right? So I'm going to choose the knife and let me show you the knife for a second, in case that's a tool that you find that you're interested in. So in the knife, I can just do that. So watch, I can do that. I draw it. And when I go here, I select one and the other. Okay, so I'm going to do that again. Knife. I do that. And you can see because of the stroke happening, right? Now, it also cut this one down, which wasn't two separate ones. And that's the part that's kind of bizarre. But it went in here and made it a cut. Went in here and made it a cut. So now when I separate, I have that tool, that one, and that one. Okay. If this had been just an oval, and I go get the knife, and I do like that, then I get that and that. So I tended to use the knife because it already joins it more than the scissors. So I'm surprised that they left the scissors tool in the Essentials versus the knife. I mean, it fills different purposes. If for any reason you want to separate them and not have a closed shape, you wanted to turn it into a line, then I would use the scissors. But for the most part, I would prefer that. So that's the knife tool. Okay.
Is the knife supposed to be in there with the scissors?
It's under the scissor. It's the eraser, scissors, and knife. Eraser, scissors, and knife.
Where it's not in mine, so.
No, it's not exactly. So I had to go change my my work up here workspace. In Essentials, for some reason, they left that tool out. It's just erasers and tool. So I went and changed my workspace to Essentials Classic, which has many more things, and I don't want to complicate you with that. But if you go to that same eraser, now you have the knife.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Now, I'm gonna, after you practice with it, I want us to go back to Essentials only because there's just so much more happening in the Essentials Classic that at this point I don't want to start explaining it. But I'm going to show you how, when you're back in the Essentials, you can go to these three little dots at the bottom of your toolbar, right? And over here, it'll show you all the possible tools. And if there's one that's not there, here it is. Where's my knife? I'm trying to find the ones that are white are the ones that are not there. The ones that are gray are already there. So where's my knife? It should be one of these. Huh. Not seeing the knife. Let me see if I see him by name. I can recognize the word knife. No, that's a slice tool, which is a whole nother creature. Ah, here it is, knife tool. Okay, so I'll select the knife tool and I'll put it, it's like you put it in there. I put it in the wrong place. I'm going to drop it in there, in that spot. Okay. So I was seeing it like this and I couldn't find it. So it's either a knife, a name, but if an icon, if you know the name of it, I did that. And then I dragged it and I dragged it. So now I click again on those dots, it goes away. And now I have my knife tool. I put it on top of the scissors and the top of the eraser. Now I've added it. Now, since unfortunately this is not part of the regular setup, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna reset my essentials, because for teaching, I can't have a different setup, but if you like it, don't reset yours. But I'm gonna reset my essentials, and when I reset my essentials now that, oh, interestingly, I reset my essentials and I lost my tabs, but I didn't, the knife is still there. So I'm gonna go take it away, because in the future, I'm gonna say, oh, go use the knife tool, and everyone's gonna say, I don't have the knife tool. So I'm gonna go over here and choose the knife tool, and I'm gonna drag it out. And so now I'm done. So I just kind of drag it on or drag it off. So now I don't have it again. Okay, but if you guys liked it, keep it on. Right? So in the summary, guess what the summary is going to say? Diana demonstrated how to add the knife or take away the knife by clicking on the 3 dots, but then it won't, show you the steps. So that's what this kind of summary is going to say. Okay. If you were successful in using the knife tool, even if you chose or not to add it to your toolbar, give me a yes. If you have questions, give me a no.
I'm sorry, I'm still looking for the knife because I wanted to keep it, but when I
Okay.
go back to essentials, the knife is gone.
Go ahead and share your screen with me. I'll walk you through it. Okay, so, oh, it looks like you changed again your settings, and I had kind of fixed it for you. I wonder, is this you resetting your essentials? What happened here? Because it seems like you don't have the setup the way I set it up for you. I don't know how you got back to this. Can you go to your workspaces and let's see if you have, do you have a special one? I don't know. Go back to reset essentials. That's your essentials. And then I had grabbed the layers, go grab the layers and drag it out and put it in there. A little bit lower. Yeah, you didn't drop it in the right place. So grab the layers again and wait until this box goes blue. Drag the word, let me just undo everything I have. Grab the layers and put your mouse, grab the layers from the name. And then point it here until this little, put your mouse. Yeah.
There.
So now you have the layers there and you have the properties there. Okay. Now that's fine. Hold on. I need to change my tool. Okay. Now go down to these 3 dots right there, way over here, way over there. I'm taking you down to the 3 dots to just grab the knife. That way you don't have to change. Okay. And now scroll down. Scroll down. God, where did we find it? Go up again. I just go over here and go by the name, because I can't recognize the look of the little icon. Click on that. Yeah, and now scroll down and you'll see the knife tool is kind of down there somewhere. Keep going. Does anyone see the knife? It'll show up, but I can't. Keep going, keep going. Knife tool. There it is, knife tool. Now grab it and drag it and drop it on top of the scissors. There you go. Now click on these 3 to close it up again. Click on the 3 dots to close this up again.
I can't find the 3 dots. Here.
Right there. Good. Now go and select the knife. Yeah. Now you have the 3 and then it can stay. Okay. But now, yeah.
All right. I got to practice it. So
yeah, sounds good. I'm just wondering what happened here that it keeps getting, what were you changing that you keep getting like?
it's something I did that I'm unaware of.
So now click on the layers there. Yeah, and now when you first open, you have to grab here and drag it down to make it bigger. And then just leave it like that. Whenever you touch the names of things and drag, you drag them around. It's the name, right? So I try to avoid dragging things around. This is the most efficient way. You can have it the other ways. It's just that it wasn't efficient. You guys can set it up whatever you want as long as it's efficient to you. But you want to be able to see the properties panel and you want to see your layers. Anything else you want to see or don't see, fine, but you want to have those displayed because by combining both, it's the best way to work. If when we were in the Essentials Classic before, you didn't need the properties panel. You had like a bar up here that did the equivalent of the properties panel, but it wasn't, it was more complicated. You could do things here, here, here. It was like all over the place. So now this is a bit simpler. I like the Essentials Classic for me because I know there's tools there that I used, but as long as I can put them, ones that I use like this in my toolbar, then I don't need the actual complication. Stan, you also said no. What's your question?
Just I understand that the knife cuts through something and then separates it. I just wondered, can you go into an image, like say you'd drawn a realistic leaf and you wanted to cut a hole in it like an insect was eating holes in the leaf? Would a knife work for that?
I'm going to test it because I've gone through so many tools right now that I'm a little bit, oh, I lost my knife because I got rid of it. Hold on. I'm changing my self to the classic so that I can have it. And yeah, actually, oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Sorry. Yeah, so I'm going to zoom in, say that this is my leaf, right? Now I make a little hole in it, right? And in this case, I need to make sure that I join it. And now I can go and delete that little guy. Right? Take that little piece out, and then I get my hole in the leaf. Right?
Great.
And this doesn't
Yeah.
look like a leaf. And I always put big borders and big strokes to see the effect. But if you didn't have these strokes and you just had a hole, you would just have a hole in the leaf and it would look, let me get rid of the stroke. Then it looks like a leaf with a hole. Not that this looks like a leaf, but you know what I mean. Right?
Right. And it would be transparent. You'd see through to what's beneath it.
Yeah, and I make a little jaggedy hole, but I didn't close it. See? So when I didn't close it, it doesn't work. It's just another path that I've made. So you need to be sure that if you do that, you, where was my knife here? That you close it like there. Then it'll work. Okay, then you can grab it and, oh, I didn't close it. Move it out.
Okay, great.
And yes, and this is transparent. See?
Mhm.
Let me undo. Yeah, this is definitely a transparent hole. You got rid of it. Or, and on undo, if I undo all that, or I can grab my eraser, right? And then just make a hole in there. If I didn't need that little bit. Now, if I needed that little bit, I separate it and I keep it. But if I just want to get rid of it, just grab the eraser, right? So they all do similar jobs. What do you need to end up with? You don't need what you're getting rid of, use the eraser. It's a hole. It's a true hole. If you need that second bit because you're just going to separate them like this, then you need the knife. And if you don't need the shape to be a complete shape because you're going to turn it into an outline, into a line, then you can use the scissors. I don't use the scissors much. I don't know why in the Essentials they left the scissors. To me, the knife is and the eraser are the useful ones. The scissors does this thing to it that means I will then use it only as an outline, which is fine, but it's not normally, if you have a fill, what you will do. So if you're only working with outlines, which yes, if you're only working with outlines, then go for it, use the scissors. But if you're using shapes that are full, use the knife. So I don't know why they got rid of it. They seem two different things to me. All right. Y'all good with that? Oh, look at that. If this were a pumpkin, I've just made a little kind of funky pumpkin. Anyway, hi, Claudia. Nice to see you. So we're about to start on something completely new. So actually timing is good. Well, it's building upon what we just did, but the tool I'm going to use, we haven't started with at all. So open up a 4 empty one And then you can catch up on what we've been doing here. And unless there's no more questions, I think you've all lifted your questions have been answered. Then let's us as well go ahead and create a new file and start with a new file, new Command N, and then create a new document. And we're gonna save this one. And we're going to call it either Drawing Tools 2 or Pen and Curvature Tool is mainly what I'm going to teach you, although some other stuff is going to come in here. Or just call it more Drawing Tools, whatever you need to call it, and save. All right. So hopefully you guys have been putting in the different tools here, the knife, the scissors, the eraser, the different choices. If I can get in there, I can do a bit more details about the difference between all three, which is what I just said. But for the most part, we're ready to move on. What time is it? Notice that I'm not keeping track of time. Let me look for a second. Calendar, the time, we're fine. We're fine. We have perfect time. Perfect timing. All right, so let's do the following. There's two different tool. Oh, I'm in the, let me go back to the essentials. Sorry. Okay. So there's two different tools. There's the behind under the arrows. There's the pen and the curvature. They ran out of names, curved pen or something like that. They just called it curvature and pen, but they both look like little old-fashioned pen nibs, right? So let me show you who's coming in. Oh, your other computer. There we go. Let me show you first. I've stopped showing the pen tool in the past, but let me show you the pen tool right now for one thing only. Let's first make a rectangle. Let's make a rectangle. As usual, I'm going to give it a color and a stroke because it makes things easier. And I'm going to make the stroke fatter. I so rarely use strokes in my real life unless I really need to, but I'm always using them in teaching. And then Command 0 to approach. Okay. So here's my basic rectangle. The pen tool has been here since the beginning of Illustrator. The curvature now has a few years. You can do the same thing with both, but the pen tool used to be very hard to learn and handle. People who really have learned and handled it is more, you can do more with it than you can with the curvature, but it has a really high learning curve versus the curvature is much easier to learn. So I will teach you the curvature tool, and it does 90%, 99% of what the pen tool does. So the places where you would need the pen tool, I don't know that it's worth any more learning it. So I'm going to show you the one good thing the pen tool is really good for now. Like I still draw with that one because I'm more accustomed to it. And you can be very precise and exact with a pen tool versus not so much with a curvature tool. So let me just show you. Select a shape, choose the pen tool. And what it's really good for is I'm going to add more anchors. So I'm going to click on this line. See how when I hover over the line, I get a plus sign under my pen. Now it's got an asterisk. If I hover on this path, I have a plus. I'm going to click and I've added a new anchor. And I'm going to click again. I'm adding an anchor, click again, add new anchor. That's all it does. And you're like, well, what's the point of adding new anchors? Well, watch. Now I'm going to go to the white arrow tool. And now I can modify this shape because I've added more anchors. Does that make sense? Yep.
Yep.
Maybe. So in this example, when I was saying, well, here you can't add an anchor because there was no path to it. Now you're understanding a little bit more what I was saying. This has no path. So if I try to add an anchor, there's no anchor. You can only add onto these two paths an anchor, but this doesn't add an anchor. And if you have these little asterisks on the tool, instead of the plus sign, you're just creating a new shape, right? And so it's a whole different creature. We're going to talk about that. So that's what I meant by there's no path here versus here. You can now select each anchor and do something with it. Okay. So that was the thing that I was trying to explain, but I hadn't shown you how to add anchors yet. So here we go. So with the pen tool, I can keep adding. Oh, careful. I didn't have this selected, right? So I hovered over this thing. Do I see a plus sign there? Or an asterisk?
Asterisk.
That means new. And what was wrong is I hadn't selected it first. So if I select it first, then I get a plus sign and I can keep adding little paths to this. Not only that, but what if I want to get rid of one? I hold the That's select it and hit the delete key. Select it and hit the delete key. Now, these I hadn't done anything with. So I add, delete, nothing happens. But how about if I select this one and hit the delete key? Boom. It's not like the path cuts out. It just, if this anchor isn't there, the path goes to be between that and that, right? So I add, and then I'll move it. In this case, I added a curved one, long story. And you'll understand later why curve, why not. For now, just when you add, thing is that if I select it and hit the delete key, it reshapes, it reconnects. So if I move this and then now set the delete key, it goes away. So I add and delete. That's the main thing that this does. If you're good with that, if you're ever to experience it, and by the way, I moved. I was moving it, but I forgot that I was using a different tool. This only adds and takes away, okay? So I'm totally wrong with what I did. Let me erase what I just told you because I've shifted to the pen tool when I did that, to the curvature tool. So listen to me, erase what I just said. And once again, I'm going to add, and add. Yeah? Are you listening? With the pen tool, if I click again on the same thing I just added, simply click, it goes away again, right? So if I clicked and moved it, right? Clicked and moved it. You have to hold down the option key to move it, right? Okay, so click, click, click. I added a ton. I prefer going to the white selection tool, which is the A, right? A, and then I move it, 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 right? If I now go back to the pen tool and want to get rid of things, I just click on an anchor point and it disappears. Even the original ones. So pen tool, you click to add and you click again to take away. Click to add, click again to take away. Click to add, click on any of those anchors to take them away. Okay, that's the pen tool, but you can't move it. The moment you try to grab it to move it, you're taking it away. So the only way to move it is actually to go back to the A white selection tool and then move it. This is why it's a bit more complicated. You'll see that in the curvature tool, it's a bit easier. And then go back to the pen tool, which is a P for pen, and you put in more paths. The other option is to hold down the option key, which then gives you the command key allows you to move it without having to change tool. When you let go of the command key, you have your pen tool again. I'm not too happy that I'm showing you this because this is the opposite of the curvature tool. So I don't want you guys to get confused, but I am by saying this anyway. I should have started just with the curvature tool. But anyway, here we go. Pen tool. You add, you click on the same thing, you take away. If you want to move it, you hold a command or a control key to move it. And when you let go of the command and control key, you're back in the pen tool to keep adding more. Okay. Now, If you instead hold down the Option key, you turn that into a curve. So then you end up having a curve and when you work on it. Okay. So if I click on this path and I hold down the Option key, I pull out a curve. If I click on hold the Command key, I pull out a straight line. Okay, so Option or Command does two different things while I still hold on to the pen tool. Command for straight lines, click, Option for curved lines. Click, Command, click, Option or Alt, curved lines. Is that clear? Clear as mud? Ultimately, with the pen tool, I recommend drawing straight lined shapes. So click, 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 until I join. And it's easier to not have a fill to teach you this. Pen tool, click, 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 click. And when I'm done, I need to join these two. I need to see the little 0 appear under my pen, and then that means I've joined them. Then I'm back to start new. Start new, click to join it. Start new, click to join it. So all of these you might notice are straight angles. The pen tool is really good for this. Okay. Once again, click, 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 click. For straight lines, nothing beats the pen tool. The reason I took the fill out is because when you have the fill going, then as you do this, the fill is trying to kind of fill and it kind of does a weird thing, right? As I click and I click and I click and I click and I click until I'm done, it gets a bit confusing. It's not that you can't have the fill tool there, the fill happening, it just gets a bit more confusing. So this is the perfect tool to get straight line shapes. It's not the only, it's not the necessarily, but if you know that you're going to make a straight line shape, go for the pen tool. Any questions? Let me clean out the answer. If it worked for you, let me know. If it didn't work for you, give me a no. If not, give me a yes. That's a pen tool. And I'm going to go ahead and do a screenshot of this portion, mainly because, I want to go to the Padlet. And I'm going to just really quickly say, and this is reductive. The pen tool can do much more, but the pen tool is perfect for making straight lined shapes. Also for clicking on a path and adding anchors. To move the anchors, the new anchors, use the Command/Control key to get straight paths and use the Option Alt to get curved paths. Okay. So that's putting it down as one thing that it does. That's what it does. Now you can make curved anchors straight out of this path, but that's what was always hard for people. The curved lines on the pen tool was the part that has been the bane of many people's existence. So instead of showing you that, I'm going to show you the curvature tool, where curved is the order of the day. So now let's switch from the pen tool to the curvature tool, which is specifically made for curves. Everyone ready? Anyone who's still questioning the other one? No? Okay, so curvature tool. Same as before, the little asterisk means I'm starting a new shape. So I'm going to click, and then I'm going to click again, and it looks straight. But look, at the moment I move away, that path is turned into a curve. When I'm done, I click on the first one, and it's all curves. So curve, 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 click, all curves. Curve, 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 curve. Right? So if you can get curves, let me know. If you're having issues getting curves, let me know. All good with curves? Simple click, curve, 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 curve. Now, it's probably not doing exactly what you want it to do, right? The straight lines, you can make them do exactly what you want because it's a straight line, but the curve kind of, when you click on it, takes a different shape. So now if you were trying to make a whale out of this, you got near enough, but now you need to modify it, right? But anyway, that's not the problem. It's just a description of the issue. Now, remember how before with the pen tool, we added paths? What if I don't want to go back to the pen tool and add paths with the pen tool? What if I want to add paths with the curvature tool? You know, I'm in the curvature tool. Why bother going back to the pen tool? All right, so well, first you need to select the shape, of course. Well, look, if I put a single click now and add it, it works. But if I click on it again to get rid of it like before, I can't. When I will click on it again, what I do is I manipulate it. And that's why this tool is much easier, because I can put a path and then go back and manipulate it. Click in an extra anchor and then go back without having to control key any of that stuff. I just put in a path, and when I hover over it again, I manipulate it. And then when I manipulate other paths that are already there. So it's like it's a curvature tool and the white arrow in one. Does that make sense? Now, I can't manipulate the curve because if I try to manipulate the curve, I end up putting a path. And sometimes I just want to manipulate the curve, but I don't want to make a new path. Remember, for a clean curve, the less paths, the best anchors, the better. So if I try to just touch this to manipulate it, I can't. I just put in a new path, which sometimes is a problem, sometimes not. But just so you know, you're creating a new anchor, in which case you better go back to the white arrow tool. And now you can manipulate what's there without creating more. Like if you're done and you want to keep creating more, then the white arrow tool allows you to move the paths and move the anchors. Move the paths and the anchors without creating new points. So the white arrow tool will always allow you to move everything without adding or taking away. It just moves what's there. So it's not like you're always going to use a curvature tool to do anything. You're going to use sometimes a curvature tool. And if you want more anchors and paths, you keep using it. But when you're done, you got the anchors and paths you want, you switch to the white one to then really be able to manipulate them well. Does that make sense? Yeah, all good? Let me get some yeses again. If you have any questions about this yet. Oh, yay, Julie, thanks for listening. If you're still trying to figure it out, something's not working, please let me know. I'm going to go ahead and do a little screenshot of that, but this time I'm going to hold the control key just quickly to distinguish here what's happening. I'm going to put my name again, and then I'm going to click in here and go paste. And then I'm going to go, the curvature tool allows me to easily make curved paths and anchors when I want to, when I go back to the anchor, I can manipulate it. I can also add new anchors just by clicking on a path. But oh, I didn't show you, how do I delete the anchor then with that tool? To delete an anchor with the, I have to let go of my mouse anchor. With the curvature tool, you have to select it and then hit the delete key on your keyboard. So if I have the curvature tool, the shape has to be selected. If I click on an existing one, I just move it. But if I wanted to delete it and I select it, now I have, see, I just click on select it. Now I hit the delete key. Select it, hit the delete key. Select it, hit the delete key. Versus when I have the pen tool, just touching it deletes it. Touching it deletes it. With the curvature tool, I select it and I hit the delete key. So they work so differently that I don't necessarily usually teach both at the same time. I don't want to get you guys more complicated, but you guys are pretty fast. So I'm showing this. If it results into a lot more complication, I will learn my lesson, and next time I will show you only one at a time. But right now, since I showed you one, I have to show you the differences. And to delete something from here, I select it, hit the delete key. When you do that, the shape you made disappears and the nearest two get connected. Okay? Still good? What I hadn't written in here, and the other one was, which is the straight tool. Let me edit that for a second. To delete an anchor, just click on it with the pen tool and it disappear and it wait, just click on it with a pen tool. Okay. But on the curvature tool, you have to select and do delete. So it gets a bit easier to do it one way, harder the other, back and forth. Which do you want to use? But as long as you know both, that's fine. Okay, now I'm not going to show you how to do curves with the pen tool because that's the part that's hard. But I will show you how to do straight lines with a curvature tool, which means you might be able to use only the curvature tool for most of what you do. And only for certain extreme things do you end up to go back to the pen tool. So watch over here. Instead of doing a single click with a curvature tool now, I'm going to double click, 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 double click. And then I click one more time to close it. So this is my curvature tool used for straight lines. It's double clicking. And if you hate double clicking, this is not the tool for you. Then switch to the pen tool and make straight lines with the pen tool and curved lines with the curvature tool. But if you want to use only one, then double click, double click, double click, double click, double click, double click, and double click. Now, there's one advantage to this. Again, you could have done this with a pen tool as well, but it's much more complicated. So what if I single click, single click, single click, and then I double click, double click, double click, double click, double click, and then single click, single click, single click. So basically I can make hybrid shapes. I'm going to delete all of this and show you again. If all it takes is a single click or a double click, single click for a curve, curve, and now double click. Oh, I didn't double click there. I clicked. That's the problem. Double click, and then join it. Double click to join it. Now it's a little bit like that that turkey tail. Susombata, are you still there? Yeah. So let me undo that again. Single click, single click, single click, double click. Whoops. Double click, double click, double click. There we go. My turkey tail kind of shape that you had made with a curvature tool. So it's easier to make combined shapes, and most shapes honestly are combined. It's easier to make them with the curvature tool. Also, you can go back and then go, well, I needed it to be more here or there or everywhere. If you made an extra one you didn't want, you just select it and get rid of it. But you can still manipulate it. So the curvature tool, I'm not going to show you its limitations. I'm just going to show you the positives. And then if you ever need to draw something that's only straight, yeah, just use the pen tool. For those of you who later get advanced with both tools, you'll begin to see that there are less limitations to the pen tool, but making curves is harder, which I'm not going to bother teaching. I don't want to confuse you too much. So I think that just holding on to this one, you'll be able to do most 99% of what you want, the curvature. Okay. Now, when you're done and you've made it and you've finished it, then when you select it, you can choose any of the three tools to manipulate them. But if you choose the pen tool, you would have to hold down the Option or Command. If you choose the curvature, you just click on it and move it. And if you keep the white one, it's the best one when you don't want to add or take away any paths. If you just want to manipulate, just use the white arrow tool. It moves what's there, right? So select and moves what's there, right? So you don't have to worry about, am I adding, taking away, am I whatever. And if I want to get rid of something, then same as before. If I do want to get rid of something with the white arrow tool, I select it and hit delete and it goes away, right? But it cut the line like the scissors tool versus if I have my curvature tool on and I select this and delete it, it keeps the path going, right? So if you still need to add or take away paths, you're still better off using the curvature tool. But if you are done, you know you don't want any more anchors or paths, then the white tool is best. Okay, so it's all a matter of what your goal is. If you're done, this is it. You just need to tweak it. Perfect, white tool. Make it, give it a bigger anchor, give it a lesser anchor, turn it into, you know, a different shape. But if suddenly you know you're going to need to make this also a curve, you can, by the way, with the white arrow tool, do that with certain shortcuts. Like I can hold down this and I can add a, you know, there's like things you can do with lots of command keys, which is what we did in the past. In the past, we had two tools. And with command, control, and option, we turned them into other things. But ultimately, as long as you have the curvature tool, select it again, put another in there, move it out, and then you have it. But what if this one was supposed to be a straight angle? Now this is the opposite. What if I have this shape and I went, oh, these two lines have to be straight. So let me actually be even worse. Say I have some real big curves. And you're like, ah, this has to be straight. This has to be a straight line and a straight line. So watch. These are curved anchors. Two curves are coming out of them. I'm going to go back and I'm going to double click on this anchor. See, it's straightened out, and double click on this one and double click on that one. So you double click to, and now double click, double click, double click, double click, double click, double click. I have managed to turn it all into sharp angles. And then it's like, no, I wanted my curve again. Back and double click again. It turns back into a curve. Double click again, back into a curve. So the curvature tool, when you first lay it down, it gives you a sharp angle. But once you are in an angle, you turn it into a curve by double clicking. And once you have a curve, you turn it into an angle by double clicking. Does that make sense? So you just kind of double click your way around and you'll find which one. If it's not one, it's the other. So if this is a heart, I want this to be sharp, but I want this to have a few more curls. Then what if I want the tip to be sharp as well? I double click and then I have a sharp one, right? And then I move this one over and I move this one there. I can make it have more of a shape or less of a shape. I'm like, no, I want it to be a curved little ending and a curved little inside. I can do that. So I'm doing all of this with a curvature tool. Double click again, again. Right? And if I put more angles, then I keep playing around with it, changing its shape until I get the heart shape that I want. Then I leave. All right, everyone make a heart and post the heart and make it be a heart that has curved and straight ones so I can see that you were able to do the combined shapes because this is only straight, only curves, and this is a combined, a hybrid. Control Shift 4, Command Shift 4, hold the Control key last minute before I let go. And now I've pasted, so I'm going to make one more. Diana. And I'm going to call this one the hybrid angled or curved anchors. Using the curvature tool, I can double click and change the anchor to be one or the other. Also, if I only want straight lines, I can use the curvature just by double clicking as I create the new shape. Oh, we already had a little heart over there. What's that? A little kind of a butterfly-ish. Yeah, a butterfly or a moth. Until you see the colors, you can't tell. All right, all good? For those of you who, for some reason, aren't posting, you might not have the link. Let me give you the link one more time, especially if you came into class late, the link isn't showing up. Remember to please post. I think someone was asking the other day, if you're just watching and not posting, maybe I'm talking to Julie or whoever was here late, I still need you to watch the videos and I still need you to post your work, because if all you do is watch videos and I don't see your posts in here, then I can't tell if you're learning. This is the only way I know. Watching the video doesn't teach you, it's doing it that teaches you. So you need to watch the video and do it and then post what you did. As I said, doesn't need to be right or wrong. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be that you're trying it and that then I can help you. But if you don't post and watch the video, yeah, watching, yeah, I'll never learn how to ride a motorcycle if I just watch someone riding it, right? I have to be on that motorcycle to learn. So you got to do it. And for me to know you did it, you got to post it. Okay, so please, those of you who haven't been posting, go back and post. Go back to the work that you've been doing and do screenshots and post, even if it's from a few days ago. But if you've never posted, I'm going to say something that might or not matter to you. If you've never posted, I can't give you a pass. This class, believe it or not, is a pass, no pass class. It has that's the grade it has, which isn't pass. It isn't a to F. It's a pass, no pass. But I can't pass you and have you go to some client and say, yeah, I learned Illustrator, City College taught me, and then you don't know what to do. Why? Because you didn't necessarily really learn. Because if you get a pass, you get a certificate. So this is a certificate-based class. And a lot of you are like, I don't care about the certificate. I just want to learn Illustrator. So why should I bother passing? Listen carefully why. Those of you who haven't been posting, this class gets funded. It's free for you guys. It gets funded by the state. The state does pay the school based on you being in class. The only way I can show that you were in class is if you begin to post your work and see that you're accomplishing work. And then you pass the class, you take the other classes of the series, you pass it, I give you a certificate. The state gives us even more money because people complete their certificates. So all of those of you who take the class and don't get a pass and don't care because you learned Illustrator, yay for you. Bad for the school because we don't get money for you having gotten that pass. Thus, less money to offer the class, less classes we can offer for free. Does that make sense? So do your best to post so that I can give you a pass. Remember, if what you post is wrong, you still get a pass if I see that you are learning the tools. Does that make sense? I don't need you to make the perfect cabinet, the stand made, or the perfect, Christmas card with the effects and the moon and the clouds. That's a pass. And the squiggly heart is also a pass because you're using the tools I'm teaching you. As we move forward, I'll notice that your hearts get better, or whatever tool you're working get better, and you move forward. And that's the learning process. I don't want you to give me you don't get A or F. You get pass, no pass. Pass is you're doing the work, you're trying it out, you're posting, you're getting better. That's a pass. Just as the person who gave me the beautiful Christmas card, it's also a pass. Sorry for those of you on an A, I don't do A or C. I do pass, no pass. So it's up to you how good you want to get. But it's up to me to pass you if I see you've done the work. And if you've done the work, then I can pass you. If I can pass you, you can then move on to getting a certificate. If you get the certificate, the school goes, whoa, this is a successful program. Let's offer more classes. Or, oh, no one's completing. Look, you have 20 students and only 5 passed.